day. She was there on Family Street down in New Orleans. So wild but yet so tame, she could calm a hurricane. She was only 17 and a million.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power. And
how are you doing? Welcome to the Situation Room. We are glad you're awake, wherever you are, wherever you tuned in. C.T. Muga, good morning.
Good morning, Eric.
How are you today?
I am very well, thank you, sir. Mm-hmm. And how about yourself?
I'm very well, thank you. Did you get enough sleep? Did you sleep?
I did, actually.
How many hours?
I think 5.
5?
4. No, 5, yes.
4, close to 5. 4 going on 5.
5, actually.
Okay.
It's adequate.
Not enough, but adequate.
I think it's enough because I measure adequacy by how I feel.
So you're awake for 19 hours, sleep for 5.
No, I'm not awake for 19 hours. What often happens in the middle of the day, I take a nap for an hour.
I see. Okay.
So I break the fatigue. That chain that equals my fatigue levels is broken somewhere in the middle of the day at around 1 or at 2. Yeah.
Okay.
It actually makes a very big difference.
And you're able to actually do just the hour.
It's just 1 hour. It's the same system that wakes me up at 3. I don't have an alarm clock. I wake up at 3. I'm actually up at 3. If I'm tired, I'll find I've woken up at 3:30. That tells me I'm tired.
Yeah.
If I'm really tired, I'll wake up at 4. Yes, my body clock seems to know when to...
It knows.
Yes, it does.
Ndu, how many hours do you sleep?
Do I sleep normally? Maybe about 6 or 7, but yesterday I didn't sleep for 6 or 7 hours.
You know, this break, this 1 hour break, is the advice that I actually got from my nephew. And let me tell you, it is a lifesaver.
Like a daytime nap.
It makes a huge difference.
Perhaps I shall employ this.
It's just 1 hour.
Do you lie down or do you just sit and sleep?
No, I lie down.
Stand up and close your eyes.
I lie down.
While you're doing other things.
When I nap, I can just sit like this.
And you can actually nap satisfactorily?
Yes.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So these are the sort of people who can sleep standing.
These are the kind of people who sleep with their eyes open.
No.
How are you, Eric?
Good, thanks.
Good.
Yes. Karibuni sana, welcome to the show. We'll have a number of conversations today. So, Robert, what's his other name? Robinette. Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. is now the president of America. He took over. He's been entertained throughout, as in this man was being sworn in before I went to sleep. I'm waking up, he's still sitting there.
Still standing, making
78-year-old man.
At the Washington Memorial. My good Lord.
Surely.
It's been 12 hours of activity after activity.
Yeah.
Are you tired on his behalf?
Yeah? I can feel it. Hey. Anyway, so he's the new president. We'll have a conversation about that. I mean, what's happening? Already we know there's expected changes in the Nairobi embassy because the ambassador has resigned and has left, and there's a new acting chief counsel at the Nairobi U.S. embassy. So the expectations of Joe Biden in the country, across the globe, the kind of policies he's going to come in with and what he's going to do, that's a conversation we'll have. Let's also have a conversation about our parliament and the rot that is in parliament. Yesterday, an MP called us in and he says, I know how people have just been getting bribed left, right, and center. And I've been there, and I've been seated in that parliament for 3 terms now, and I've seen it happen. So today we'll have the MP Shakil Shabir from Kisumu East to come and tell us what shenanigans go on in that house and why we never hear about it until one person just comes and complains. We don't see the DCI investigating, the EACC being given information so they can investigate. So what is it that happens? Well, at the same time, we need to have a conversation about food security, and we will have a conversation about rice today. So farmers in Ahero and other schemes around there had a bumper harvest last year. They've taken that to the Kenya National Trading Corporation stores, and then they hear information that, well, the stores are full. Now the government can't take any more of their rice. So middlemen have started coming now to buy rice at about 10, 15 shillings cheaper than they would be selling at those stores. So why is it that farmers have spent so much time, so much energy growing rice, not being able to sell at good prices, but at the same time, you'll hear that we are importing rice? Do we have a net deficit of rice in the country? What are the problems? Do we have an issue with our production, cost of production, or areas under cultivation? All that, we'll have a conversation with a researcher from the Tegemeo Institute of Vegetarian University. That's at 8 o'clock. Hiya. At this time, we look at COVID.
Yes, we do. The world is looking at 97 million cases of COVID now. Looking at the United States specifically, just interesting, even as now President Biden is ready to roll up his sleeves and get into it, the United States has lost 415,000 people. And in terms of coronavirus and how they want to fight it, it's on the top of the agenda. Because a lot of people are sick, a lot of people are infected, and they're looking at protecting many, many more. They're looking at, just under 10% of the population has now been vaccinated, and they're looking at increasing those numbers. They're also looking at preserving life when it comes to COVID-19 infections. One of the things that we did hear yesterday is that masks will now be mandatory in all federal buildings in the United States. They will have to wear those. Unfortunately, they are not able to make everybody wear masks at all times in public places because of civil liberties and such. However, they can make sure that within government, federal buildings and federal offices, masks have now become mandatory or will be mandatory once that is done and through today, especially now with this special task force on COVID-19 that President Biden has put in place. They're still suffering high numbers, though. They're almost at 25 million cases, even with things going on. I mean, like we saw yesterday, the inauguration taking place with flags instead of people, whereby that entire area around the Washington Monument would have been packed with people. One of the things they said was, look, we are not doing this, specifically because of COVID-19.
Was it because of COVID or was it because of the terror?
It was a double reason.
I'm sure they'd have had people.
If you looked at what they did on the South Lawn, is that they had the diplomatic corps and visitors from abroad sitting socially distanced, but they didn't have more than 1,000 people, whereby you would normally have hundreds of thousands of people. So it was a double reason that they gave as to why they didn't have the crowds that they normally would around that area. So yes, there was the fear of terror, insurrection. At the same time, they didn't want lots of people in the same place. Would have given a different message concerning COVID as to what Biden is already speaking about. With having said all that, 188,000 new cases were discovered in the US yesterday, and unfortunately 4,374 new deaths. So top of his agenda is COVID-19 and how they're going to be able to fight this. Looking at other countries where lockdowns have been instituted, we know that the United Kingdom, that lockdown still continues. The lockdown that is in Rwanda still remains in Kigali. If we're looking at African countries now, schools in Kigali are the ones that are closed. Around the country, not just yet, but they're on alert and they say, look, if it's necessary for us to do this, then we will. The United Kingdom still on lockdown. Malawi still on lockdown now and having... The lockdown we're talking about now is the closure of schools. We're not seeing anything else apart from that. But they're also on alert saying, look, if the cases increase, then we will close down more schools outside of Blantyre. Okay. India, still 10 million cases, is second in the world now. They also continuing with vaccinations in India. If we look at what's happening in South Africa now, with the cases that they found previously and really concerned about the second strain of COVID-19, they reported 12,710 new cases yesterday with 566 new deaths. This is about 3,000 more cases than the day before, where they had averaged about 9,000. I mean, they were jumping between 12, 14, 9,000, and we're back up to 12,000 now in South Africa. So there's a cause for worry, according to Cyril Ramaphosa's government, and in terms of what they're going to be able to do about this, even as they continue with vaccinations around the country. So, I mean, the thing about the second strain that worries the United Kingdom, that worries Spain, Italy, South Africa, is that symptoms come on much faster and, unfortunately, greater, higher chances of death.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. We are still waiting in Kenya for the communication. Today's Thursday. The communication that was supposed to come from this special task force of the vaccine rollout in the country. It was supposed to be yesterday, but maybe we'll hear something about that today, because they did meet Monday, Tuesday. The information was supposed to be, presented yesterday, but all right, we'll give it a couple of days and see what comes out from that. Seeing as at the end of next week we'll be in February, and a couple of days after that is when the vaccines should arrive in the country. Kenya recorded 136 new cases yesterday and 2 new deaths, taking now Kenya's numbers to 99,444.
Total deaths 1,736. Some countries are recording this in a couple of hours.
Oh, yes. Brazil yesterday recorded 8 times this in terms of infections, and 8 times this number in terms of infections, and almost this number in terms of deaths, where they were at 1,100 deaths yesterday. So, yeah, some countries are recording Kenya's total number of deaths in a day.
Wow. Okay. So, apart from Rwanda and Malawi that are on lockdown, well, and South Africa that has, on and off lockdowns, any other African country that's there? Ghana, after the re-election of the president, they are okay.
Ghana is not talking about it much. If we look at Ghana's numbers, what are they dealing with now? 58,431 cases totally, 358 deaths. What did they record yesterday? 366 new cases and 6 new deaths. And this has been the number that they've been on around that for the last 1 week or so, between 560 to 366, 191. In terms of keeping things under wraps, it seems that they've been able to do this well. They don't like the numbers, of course. President Nana's government is trying as best they can to make sure that people are socially distant. Schools have opened. There was never talk of them closing schools again. So they're trying to keep it as low as they can. They seem to also listen to the government.
If we're to compare countries with similar populations, because Brazil's population is something like 4 times ours, but still 8 times those numbers in a day is much.
Oh, it really is. The problem is that this thing left the blocks before Brazil had even prepared for the race.
Yes.
So they've been playing catch-up for months.
But if you listen to the rhetoric of their president, Bolsonaro, it wasn't really much different from the rhetoric that we're hearing from from Trump. It's like they were reading from the same handbook. Yes. And now these are disastrous consequences.
Oh, absolutely. If you're looking at 64,000 cases a day and 1,382 deaths in one day, in a country where really you can't afford to have these numbers in hospital.
1,000 people dying every day.
That is a serious. That's catastrophic, actually.
It's a very high number.
1,382 yesterday, 1,183 the day before that, 460 previously, and then the day before that, 518, 1,059 the day before that. Those are the numbers that they're looking at almost on a daily basis. Losing 1,000 people daily. Think about what that is in 30 days.
Major. Time for us to take a break at 6:15. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. We thank you very much for tuning in. The live stream is up, Spice FM KE on YouTube, on Facebook and Twitter. We'll be saying hello to everybody who says hello to us online as we begin the conversation on the headlines in the newspapers today. Good morning.
All right, this Thursday morning, clear conditions in Nairobi at 17 degrees. We're looking at highs of 27 today. Looking around the country then into Nyeri, it's clear at 12 degrees, highs of 25 and lows of 13. Clear conditions also in Nakuru at 13, going to highs of 27 and lows of 14. 26 will be the high in Eldoret today. It's clear at 11 at the moment. It's also clear in Kisumu at 19, highs of 28 and lows of 18. And Kakamega is clear at 19, highs of 30 and lows of 14. We're looking at partly cloudy conditions in Mombasa this morning at 25. That'll be the low for today, going to highs of 32. 31 is the high in Malindi. 26 and partly cloudy at the moment. We're looking at mostly clear conditions in Kampala. Stepping out of Kenya now, highs of 26 and lows of 18. It's partly cloudy in Dar es Salaam at 27, highs of 32 and lows of 27. In Johannesburg, it's clear this morning at 15. That'll be the low for today, also going to highs of 27. 33 degrees and clear skies. That's what will be throughout today in Lagos. It's currently clear at 25 as well. Rain showers in Kinshasa this morning, 23 the low and highs of 32. It's a little bit warmer in Beijing this morning at 1 degree. It's sunny. It'll go, however, to lows of -8 and highs of 6. Rain in Paris this morning, 7 degrees, high winds, highs of 11 and lows of 6. And we're looking at partly cloudy conditions in London at 5 degrees with highs of 9. And finally, for now, going into Thursday morning, it's clear skies in New York at -1, highs of 5 and lows of -3.
Eighteen minutes after 6. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Hiya, CT. Before we come to the proverb, let us see who is online this morning. Okay.
Okay. Benson Mumo is tuned in this morning. Stanley Ngashe Stan. We're tuned in from Chai Road in Juja. And Shanice Akinyi says, good morning, Spice FM. Good morning, Robert Mbogo, tuned in from Mombasa. Titus Mbeta is tuned in from Kisi. And yes, Master Dan, awake in Beijing. Well, it's afternoon in Beijing, so all right. Charity is tuned in from Nakuru, and Minneapolis is also tuned in this morning. Well done. You guys have a new president. Cyprian Mora. Good morning. Amazing people. Tuned in from Nyeri. No, tuned in from Nakuru.
That is Cyprian.
Yes.
Cyprian Mora.
Yep.
Okay. Everybody, karibuni. Njooni tusemezane. City. Today's proverb.
Right. If you think you are too small to make a difference, you have never spent a night with a mosquito.
If you think you're too small to make a difference, you've never spent a night with a mosquito.
Yes.
Okay. It will remind you of its size.
Its presence.
It's impact.
Its irritating presence.
And the difference it makes to your night.
And it likes communicating directly to your ears.
So you can basically, you will not ignore it.
Mosquitoes believe in proximity. It'll even wake you up.
Bas. Okay, so let's take a look at the headlines. So it's Biden. Pages 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 of the Standard. Pages 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 27 of the Nation. So very many pages that's been dedicated to enter Biden, the new president of the United States of America. So this is what he said. Part of his speech has been put here on the Nation. This is America's day. This is democracy's day. A day of history and hope, of renewal and resolve. Today we celebrate the triumph not of a candidate but of a cause of democracy. The people, the will of the people has been heard, and the will of the people has been heeded. A number of things that he said. He was very conciliatory in his speech when he spoke. He was saying, I'm going to be the president of all America. I'm going to seek ways of reaching out. I will also talk to my former colleagues in the Senate and see how can we work together. How can we work with the Congress together to bring healing to the people, to ensure that we forge a united front moving forward as a country. And then he said, to those who are watching us beyond our shores, I also want to pledge that we shall work together. So he's basically just saying, we're going to be everybody's friend. He's Uncle Joe.
He is. He used kind words to also send a warning, I think, when he said that even for those who tried to do this terrible thing in terms of domestic terrorism, we are very clear that we will not accept that. It won't happen. It will never happen. So don't even think about it. So I think he was very firm there as well, in as much as he was being conciliatory with everyone within and outside. He was also sending a very clear message that in terms of that nonsense, they were not going to take it.
Serikali haitakubali.
No.
Itatumia mkono wa sheria
Right.
to deal with everybody who participated in this. So the other big picture, of course, is the former presidents who attended and the immediate former president who did not attend and who did not also welcome them to the White House. Basically, maybe in Trump's, these guys were here before, so they already know what.
They know what it looks like.
Yeah, why am I inviting them to come? Show them what.
But on the other hand, it's consistency. I mean, belligerence.
Yes.
It seems to be a consistent currency with this person. The very thing that you think traditionally would be considered unpresidential, that's precisely what he will do. And even the utterances that he will make, he has been consistent in the way in which he does things. Yes.
And his belligerence has made history in many cases as well. So
it has opened up discussions that previously may not have been possible within that particular country, but now it is possible.
Yeah, indeed.
His presidency has actually opened very, very many doors. And in so opening those doors, it has also opened up many, many discussions.
Many conversations, right?
Yes, things that perhaps one wouldn't have discussed. And I'm talking about this is a silver lining. Despite all that, ask yourself, when has the discussion about race disparities been able to be discussed as openly as being discussed now?
Yep.
Not long. Probably around the time when slavery was abolished, yes, when they had the Civil War. But because of this presidency and the way they've managed things, it's a discussion that now takes center stage. Immigration, it takes center stage. Because, as I've said before, this is a country of immigrants.
Yep.
It's a question of who got there first.
right.
So when you look at what this has opened up and the good it could do, yes.
It leaves some lasting legacy in terms of the changes. Now, the onus is on the leadership of the Congress and the leadership in the White House to seize this moment and see then how can we bring that conversation forward? How can we take it? It was a moment where you see a president actually standing up to say the white supremacy is wrong and calling out the white supremacists right there on the podium. Now, what are they going to do about that? What are they going to do about talking about reconciliation and then bringing in those people who felt that they had a right to vote the way they voted, not for Biden. And then there are those people who did not vote for, were not necessarily voting for Biden, but they were voting out Trump. They also want something. As Wanjiru mentioned yesterday, there's some people who are in middle ground, and there are people who are on the extremes of both ends. Now, how to deal with the extremes on both ends and try and bring them together and make them feel that, you can have a conversation, but we must find a way of accommodating one another. That's going to be a good task.
And yet, with their democracy, you would have expected that there would be more than two parties who are dominant.
Yep.
There'd be a third, probably a fourth party. But they aren't the only country in the West that have that system. You tell me, the only time you find these differences, countries like Italy, countries like Germany, because you get coalitions.
Yes.
That tells you that there is more than one
There are
party.
many parties
Yes.
representing various ideologies and interests.
Look at Israel and the number of times they have elections. It's because there really are no so-called two dominant parties.
Yeah.
It may be prominent, but not necessarily dominant, because it always seeks another party for them to be able to form a government.
And it's very easy for governments to break, for parties to be formed.
Oh, yes.
You'll find Benjamin Netanyahu has found how many parties,
Aye.
has jumped into how many. He's in Likud today, he's tomorrow, he's in Order, PQQ,
Yes.
LTT. Keeps moving like that. In America, it sort of sounds like if you are moving out of the Democratic Party, then there's something wrong.
Absolutely wrong. In
Or
fact,
you're moving out of the Republican Party to go and form another party.
it's almost considered treason.
Yes. It's this some level of political, a system that's in place that is too rigid that almost becomes intolerant.
Remember, if you look at something like the UK, for the longest time, yes, you have the Conservatives, you have Labour, but you also had Liberals.
Yes.
And they were known. And they were a force to reckon with. Okay? But even the UK hasn't moved beyond that. See? I mentioned Germany because Germany have. You even have the Green Party, who have been gaining in strength over the years.
Yes.
And they've even been part of a government.
Yep.
A party that was once laughed at. They consider what? Green what?
Green what?
Yeah,
Now.
so you guys sit over there.
No, there they are. They have a party.
And a strong one at that. By the time a party is sizable enough to be considered a partner in forming a government, they are not a party to be trifled with or to be ignored or to be dismissed. Okay? But then if you look at then our country, ours is interesting. Whole new parties are formed and they become juggernauts. And then you go through an electoral cycle of probably 10 years, it's dismantled and ceases to exist.
It dies completely.
It dies.
You cannot even remember that.
In fact, when someone mentions, you sort of like go back in history and you want to ask, you mean there's such a party?
Yeah.
Does it still exist? Okay. And yet there was a time when those parties were a force.
it was the party to belong to.
Oddly enough, if you look at it, it's because of the individuals who are behind the parties. Like DP, it was Moi Kibaki.
Yep.
Synonymous with Moi Kibaki.
Yep.
KANU was synonymous with Moi.
Yeah.
Okay. The others that have come and gone have done precisely that.
LDP.
Come and gone. Went.
NDP.
Went.
ODM,
GNU
ODM has
went.
tried.
ODM has actually tried.
Yeah.
They are more or less following KANU because KANU is the one which lasted for the longest time and is still there.
However, it's because Raila has not found a reason to move.
None whatsoever.
If, for example, they had a conversation with Uhuru and they said, come, let's merge, and now we call it ODM Jubilee or ODMJ, that ODM would die.
Or if Raila decided that he was no longer interested in politics,
Yes.
it would mark the end of
ODM.
It would mark the end of many people's lives as well.
Not just the party.
Not just the party.
So the man has already started reversing some of the stuff that had been done by Trump. Resigning, what now do you call that? Countersigning executive orders that reverse executive orders.
Yeah, things like climate change, COVID-19, immigration status, in terms of those, what they had called the Muslim ban. The name sounded very interesting. However, already went in and signed some of those. A couple of others that he had done yesterday, I guess, which we'll look into more detail as we discuss this later.
Yeah. A lot of things that have happened.
In a day.
Yes, in a day. Keep it right here. We'll be looking at other stories shortly. It's now coming up to 6:30. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Let's see what's happening on the roads, and then we look at other headlines. Good morning.
Spice FM, Malindi. Spice FM.
It's getting hot in here.
Oh, everybody steals. It's better a thief who brings something small back. And I say to myself, there's no better thief. A thief is a thief, period.
All those bribes, how much they are getting per year, how much inconvenience they are causing. As much as you call it a small case, it's worth it to be convicted.
The truth is, we are a tribal nation. Because if we were not tribal, and I want to go back to this, you cannot continue walking around with a mug which is clean outside and it's rotten inside.
We have become a fuliza country. We have mortgaged our country because of debt.
You've got one chef working and the assistant chef wakati anatakana koroge unga nini hayuko.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Okay, so it seems as if traffic is building up in some areas. It's really not too bad. A couple of days ago, we had seen by now it was quite thick. All right, it's slow on right around Utali. This is on the thicker superhighway, but it's moving. We're not at a bumper-to-bumper situation just yet. Coming off Kiambu Road also isn't looking too bad. From Mombasa Road, guys, the turnoff or the U-turn now coming inbound has been closed. So anybody off Mombasa Road that's trying to now get back into the CBD, you have to go round. You will then have to go use Enterprise Road and Likoni Road back into the CBD. You cannot make the U-turn on Mombasa Road this morning because of the construction that is taking place. So they've closed that. So just prepare for that in case you're headed in that direction. All right. So this is what's happening, simmering a little bit around the city right now. No major traffic problems right now. Look at Jogo Road coming through into Landis and then out into the CBD. But things seem to be moving along just well, at least for now. We'll take a look at about half hour or so and see how this may have changed. But prepare for some traffic later. Spice FMKE, get in touch with us if you need to, or text on 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
28 minutes to 7.
94.4 Spice FM.
So, other headlines in the papers.
Okay, so for avoidance of doubt, nurses and clinical officers have trashed claims that their strike is off. They're saying anybody who's talking about this is not telling you the truth. They have trashed the Council of Governors report indicating that their members have ended their strike and gone back to work in more than 16 counties. The Kenya Union of Clinical Officers and the Kenya National Union of Nurses termed untrue the contents of the COG status update on the strike in 47 counties, saying the report is part of a ploy to intimidate and blackmail their striking members. The 16 counties where the COG report claims health services were back to normal was Siaya, Mandera, Wajir, Nyeri, Laikipia, Marsabit, Narok, Samburu, Tharaka Nithi, Kirinyaga, Muranga, Bomet, West Pokot, Turkana, Garissa, Elgeyo Marakwet and Tana River. The report states that medics in 5 counties, Machakos, Tana River, Isiolo, Elgeyo Marakwet and West Pokot, called off their strike Tuesday evening after signing agreements with the respective governors that did not include monetary conditions. According to the report, healthcare workers on 13 counties never went on strike because of late submission. They are Bomet, Tharaka Nithi, Marsabit, Kirinyaga, Muranga, Laikipia, Samburu, Narok, Siaya, Turkana, Mandera, Wajir, Nyeri, and Machakos. So, in a terse rejoinder, union leaders insisted that only 7 counties were not taking part, and these were Laikipia, Nyeri, Mandera, Wajir, Kericho, and Kirinyaga. They said their members were forced to go back to work in 4 counties of Tana River, Kisii, Machakos, and Tharaka Nithi. Those who signed return to work agreements with no monetary conditions are said to have reached a consensus on a good working environment, while others went back voluntarily to save their jobs.
Okay, so this is what they're saying.
Yeah. So
7 are not on strike. 5 have
been forced
to go back. That makes it 12. How many?
And
because it almost sounds like we're
4
going to
were
get to
first.
17.
4 were forced. So it's, I think now they're writing this rejoinder on the technical. So it's not as if all of us have decided to call off the strike. We're saying that 7 did not participate. 4 were forced to go back to work. Then another 5 were then saying, okay, they've reached a consensus because, they wanted to protect their jobs.
Okay. So
it's not that they've...
That
it's not
update
that
from the
they've
county
rescinded
was
the
saying
strike.
the following 17 counties are not taking part in the ongoing strike at all the cadres, and those 17 include from Bomet to West Pokot and others in between. So there's some truth then to that.
Yes, but what the clinical officers and nurses are saying is not that they were not taking part in the strike, that there are reasons as to now why they've decided to go back to work. So they're saying what the Council of Governors has said is that 17 have said they're not part of this anymore, they're going back to work. However, within those 17, 5 of them were forced to go back. Another 7, because their conditions were all right, decided, okay, we can just go back. And then the other 5 then said, all right, non-monetary conditions, we can reach this because we don't want to lose our jobs. So it's not as if they didn't want to participate in the strike. It's just that there were certain conditions which were met county to county.
Are they working?
Those 17, yes. But you see now, they're bordering on...
Do you understand what is being said here?
No.
The nurses and the clinical officers are saying that, according to the Council of Governors, it's as if they're being split. The Council of Governors, according to them, is giving the is kind of trying to say that, you know what, these guys don't have their act together. As far as we're concerned, 17 counties are working. But these 2 unions are saying the only reason why they're working is because either they've been threatened or they want to protect their jobs. But in terms of the strike, they knew why they were going on strike in the first place. So they're splitting hairs, really.
The narrative about the safety of the healthcare worker amidst the COVID pandemic was a serious narrative that warranted a lot of attention. But the moment the discussion around pay, the amounts, in comparison again to other workers within Kenya, when the moment that discussion took place, then, and it seemed to be a focus and an insistence, then that discussion changed. And why it changed in my mind is because the safety of the healthcare worker means the safety of the patient. Okay? Now, Eric brought this up some times back and he said, this particular story, the issues around the strike, there seems to be a change here that is a bit concerning or worrying. And I tend to agree with him. Because if you are pushing for safety or for the provision of the sort of support that you require to actually conduct your business well, I think you can't argue against that. But if amidst all this, you also bring in the issue of pay, and then when the matter of pay is actually brought into the public domain, it is then clear that the remuneration that the healthcare workers get is really not considered negative or bad compared to what other people get. So, a new discussion comes to take place. So you think you should continue being given more and more money because why? That's the question that comes to my mind. And in the circumstances that we live in, given the times we're in and the issues is this really a time to ask for more money? Now, in this day, right now with what we have, there is no country on this planet that isn't having challenges when it comes to meeting the normal monetary benefits that they have. So a discussion that in my mind was vibrant, it was real, it was genuine and worthy of support is being now watered down.
It's being swallowed by other conversations.
Yes, it's being watered down.
When they were starting the strike, remember we asked them a number of times, so are we dealing with just the situation around COVID and the safety of healthcare workers and ensuring that healthcare workers are well taken care of during this time? Or are we going to bring in the issue of unfulfilled promises or return to work formulas or collective bargaining agreements that had been signed in the past? Because once now we start mixing those,
that's it.
Of course, the Council of Governors is going to take that and say, look, the issue of pay, the issue of pay, the issue of pay.
They're going to focus on the
conversation changes.
Completely. And yet, what we first heard as I said, it was a viable narrative.
Yes.
And it was
A
narrative-
doctor
yes.
died because a doctor was being moved from left, right, and center,
Yes.
from one hospital to another, not being able to access a health facility
Yes.
because they don't have insurance.
Yes.
Now, that is an issue.
It is a serious issue and,
So
and,
can
and
we
worthy
talk
of
about
consideration.
insurance of that? Can we talk about now the health insurance for such workers? Can we talk about such workers getting access to PPEs? That is one. Then we start bringing in the issue of, no, there was a CBA for when, there was a what for the other days.
And then the other government employees have received insurance and what have you. Now, you see, if you bring too many issues on the table, and then the argument was, you see, from experience, we have understood that when you're beginning the government, you really have to take a hard stance on these industrial issues. I agree. But not these times that we're in now. These are different times. These are COVID has changed that landscape completely.
Yeah.
And the doctors ought to know because they are not only in the front line, they've been affected very, very adversely by this COVID. Health workers ought to know they've been affected very, very adversely by this COVID.
Yeah.
Now, if they've been affected as part of the citizenry, how much more is a citizen who doesn't have your knowledge, doesn't have, because that knowledge is part of your protection, doesn't have the wherewithal, and isn't part of a union that can put up a fight to put forward your case?
Yes.
How do they survive? And they need you and they require you for other ailments that are not necessarily COVID related.
You're basically just left exposed.
Yes. So, but the moment there's a strike, anything that has nothing to do with COVID is now also exposed.
Unfortunately.
Okay, so let's move to this other story on page 11 of The Nation, where a Nairobi judge yesterday halted once again the Nairobi by-election. And also this particular time, what he did is he suspended the 60-day constitutional timeline. That means he froze it. So it says 60 days will begin from the day we conclude these matters. That's when the 60 days will commence. So that ends that whole confusion of, okay, so if these court cases go on until the end of January, is IEBC going to have enough time to conclude these matters? So yesterday, Ms. Kananu filed an application urging the court to vacate its decision to bar her from taking oath of office as the governor. Remember, this decision was taken in the application by LSK. Okiya Omtata had gone to court seeking direction on the matter of suspending the by-election by the IEBC, which was supposed to have taken place on the 18th of February. Two earlier orders issued by Justices Anthony Murima were obtained by Sonko pending determination of his case, challenging his impeachment. Second one was issued in favor of the acting deputy governor, Ms. Anne Kananu, also halting the by-election. Meanwhile, Anne Kananu cannot be sworn in as governor. She only remains as acting governor as all these things go on in court. The question was, can a court really now suspend a constitutional timeline?
Oh, that's a whole new discussion, isn't it?
Yes. This is a constitutional timeline which says 60 days. Now, you as a court, are you saying when that 60 days, when we should start counting?
You are the one who decides when the 60 days begins, essentially. Well, I guess.
I think, remember my position on these matters.
Yeah.
When it comes to understanding our constitution, all these issues that keep coming up are wonderful for us because you get to learn things that ordinarily you would never have understood. Now we will get to understand and know what judges can do and what they cannot do with regards to the constitution.
But also remember, in 2012, a matter was taken before the Constitutional Court.
Yes.
Which was then headed by Justice Isaac Lenaola. And the Constitutional Court looked at, okay, we have a new constitution that has come in 2010 in the middle of a term of a parliament. The parliament has a fixed calendar. So what happens? Can we go into an election in August? And you've just come up with a new constitution in August. And it says that elections shall be held in August. So what happens? So the three-judge bench basically ruled and said, this current parliament shall finish its term mid-January. And then you shall have the next general election by March next year. So not hold it in August 2013, but March 2013. So they looked at what is the argument and the logic. So you have a new constitution, but Parliament has a term of 5 years. If you extend this thing beyond March, then this Parliament will have served 6 years. So this is what's going to happen. These ones will serve until January. But then the new first government that comes in, remember the Jubilee, not the Jubilee, The government that came in after 2013, in March 2013, they did not serve 5 years. That's why we had an election in 2017,
Right.
which is not 5 years after 2013.
No, it isn't.
So there, the judges basically tinkered around with the dates.
So a precedent has been set. That's what you're saying.
Yep.
So they can tinker.
With good reason.
Oh no! I actually see the logic behind it, and it makes perfect sense to me. But what I'm wondering is the issue of the limits of their power.
Yep.
Okay.
For example, can they tell us we can have an election in 2022 because referendum, BBI,
Or can they say that because of what we're seeing, we'll have an election in 2023?
yeah.
Well, I mean, clearly, if you can if you can freeze time, there's nothing you really can't do.
Again, when this discussion gets to the courts, we'll get to understand these things better.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay.
How it will be explained.
Remember
Let's take a
we-
break, sir. We can come back and look
This
at it.
break is good.
It's a good one, eh?
It's good.
Okay, it's timely. 6:45. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. The Situation Room. We are looking at the major headlines in the papers this morning.
Sugar and spice and everything nice, just the way you like it.
The Spice Drive.
Did you have a great day? I hope you did. I intend to make it better from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. I'm going to be taking you home nice and chill. Everyone is welcome aboard. The hashtag is Spice Drive and of course Spice FMKE on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Sugar and spice and everything nice. Everything nice. Spice FM.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Headline.
Well, Business Daily concerns as counties lag in desks for schools plan. According to the article on the Daily Business Daily front page, page 1, and according to data from the Ministry of Education, it shows that only 25% or 12 of the 47 countries have hit 80% mark in the distribution of 625,000 additional desks. So in the absence of these desks being provided, the social distancing that the schools are supposed to have is actually not possible.
Eh?
Yes. Only 12 of the 47 counties have been able to meet that requirement.
So, is this the national distribution of desks? How much was it? Was it the 10.7 billion shillings or 1.7 billion shillings, something like that? Or is it that, or are we talking about counties themselves doing desks?
No. It is the plan. It's a combination. One, the desk program that was set in motion, and plus just, remember, the government does give schools money for infrastructural development. But that was part of the stimulus package, if you remember. There was 1.9 billion that was actually issued specifically for this particular function, right? Now we are saying that the one we're pointing out to, that one has not been met.
Okay.
Schools have opened, and only 12 out of the 47 counties have met that threshold. Do you see a pattern here? Remember when counties were given money to upgrade their health facilities and to ensure, we've never heard that story whether to date they have actually met that threshold. To date as we speak. I'm sure if an audit was done, you may find that there are still counties lagging behind and that the numbers that they were supposed to actually have not actually been reached.
When schools were reopening, did the government not say that, yes, indeed, there have been issues with payment of the carpenters who are to supply these desks to schools, and we're just sorting that out, and then they'll be paid? And so what became of that?
It has not happened because yesterday, as late as yesterday, I did see some reports coming out that some of the, what do we want to call them now? The carpenters were really crying about money that has not been paid to them, and they're having to pay their debt from loans that they took out to make these desks, and they haven't been paid yet. That was as of yesterday, the 20th of January. Okay, so it's a sticky situation as far as they're concerned. They're having to pay their loans. They've not received money from the government. And in terms of communication, they've been asking, but they don't know when this is going to happen. Okay, so that's still a problem.
And then the side B of that story is, when schools are reopening, the government said they have very many masks to give to the needy students. How many are they? Some millions of masks to give to needy students, and there's going to be the formation of district committees,
Actually,
is it county committees?
Such information I don't consider to be a matter of concern. I'm waiting to hear that, or to read, or to be informed that those masks have actually reached all the counties, and that there's a distribution process taking place.
Okay, so
that is when, for
so
me,
this story that is here today, you don't really, you don't want to read it.
They
because
said
it's questions raised over masks for poor pupils.
Eric, if
So
someone
you said you're waiting to read that the masks have been distributed?
no, are being distributed.
Okay, so let's tell you now that they have not. So you're waiting till when it will happen?
Yes, because if I am to go by what the government says, we've heard, we discussed it, we even said they have said this, all right? They also said that there were these desks. They also said there would be computers. They keep saying things. I'm waiting to hear the masks have been delivered so that we can analyze how this process of distribution is taking place.
You know, Mutai Kagwe, the health CS, Indu, says those masks will be distributed, but they'll not be delivered in one batch. They'll be delivered on need basis.
So even
over
deliver
time.
the first one that they need then? So even the first ones that they need, let's say they're 100,000, you deliver those ones then. As we're waiting for the other 6,999,000. Deliver these ones.
Let me tell you, if you're talking about the desks, let me just read for you the 12 counties that have. Nairobi, 100% delivery. Okay. Wasingishu, 94.7. Siaya, 91.5. Vihiga, 90.8. Kisumu, 88.2. Nyandarua, 84.5. Nyeri, 82.8. Kiambu, 82.4. Migori, 82.2. Machakos, 81.9. Moranga, 81.8. Busia, 81.6.
It's not so bad.
Fine. No, it's great. Delivery of desks, right? They've been delivered.
That's not so bad.
That's not the problem. The problem is that the people who built these desks have not been paid.
You see, I like that discussion because at least desks have been delivered. It's in 12 counties, we know, out of 47. You must understand, it's not 12 out of 12. It's 12 out of 47. In an exam, you failed. Okay?
You got 36%.
Yes, because we know what half of 47 is. It's not even half. All right? So now, if we take that as an example, when we discuss the payment, now that's a totally different discussion. But I will tell you for a fact that last week, the government did send money to meet the needs of public schools for the second term.
Oh, my heart was elated because I thought you were saying public did send. I know they didn't send money to the carpenters.
No, they sent money to the schools.
Okay.
So it's not as though the schools don't have money. They sent money. The schools have received money.
Yes, because when we talked to government spokesman Colonel Loguna, he had told us that, they were going to receive their money.
Yes, but what the government says, I wait for the confirmation for the discussion to be real.
So this one has happened now.
Because we spoke about what they said they would do. So you wait. When it is done, you state and say, that thing that they said they were going to do, it has been done.
Okay, so now, there's a report. There's always a report. And this preliminary report indicates that 100% of children in schools already have masks, raising questions about the need to procure the masks for schools. So according to the report, everybody has masks.
By who? Report
by the Ministry of Education.
You see that?
So these are the masks are not necessary. They are going to be given surplus masks.
Oh no, this is actually so.
Is it a reporting issue or is it something?
100%. You better even say 98%.
You even say 98%.
Leave
But now
some
you
gap.
said 100% for crying out loud.
It can't be.
Yes.
This is also where the county director of education asked, how many people don't have masks in your... The guy just writes a report. Abona CS, there's a report actually that we've sent to the ministry. That's where they asked, nikisema wewe ni mjinga. Surely. Aye. So the report says 100%.
A preliminary report, so it's just preliminary.
Right.
Another one could come later saying that there were
Let's
some
change it a little
mistakes.
bit,
Let's change it a little bit, right? So 100% of children in schools already have masks. The findings of the report resonates with the National Parents Association and primary school heads that says All children are masked up. Primary school heads noted that the challenge is teaching learners how to use the mask protection properly. Now, we know that these masks are all combination of donations from banks, from the Children's Fund, from the Ministry of Health, etc., etc.
Yeah.
However, according to now this journalist's report, some schools are yet to receive said masks. And even, you see, this is the thing I don't understand. There's a preliminary report coming from the same Ministry of Education, but the Ministry of Health is also saying that we are yet to deliver. We will deliver. So this report, were you just writing it for the sake of writing a report?
Is it a reporting issue?
Were you just writing it for the sake of writing a report? Because the people who said they're distributing are saying they're yet to distribute.
So these
you, on the
masks
other hand,
are
are
to be
saying
distributed
that
by the Ministry of Health.
they were donating some, right? So now the ones that were supposed to come from Ministry of Health, they're saying we are yet to distribute. We will, but you, Ministry of Education, is saying 100%.
We are sorted.
See, let's talk about.
And they sit in the same meeting, eh? It's the same task force. Let's talk about something else. In Nyamira, things are elephant.
Okay.
So there's a new governor. Remember, Governor Nyagarama died, and the deputy governor ascended to the governor's post. And when he came on, immediately he fired everybody, all the CECs.
Yes.
Okay. So some CECs have gone to court to challenge their dismissal. And then the new governor nominated somebody to be a deputy, took the name to the county assembly. County assembly rejected this person, said, they did not present some of the documents that were required to be presented. So now this man is not even beginning to work yet. There are court cases barring him from appointing new CECs because some CECs have gone to court to say, we were not fired procedurally. He suffered a big blow after the county assembly rejected his deputy governor nominee, sending him back to the drawing board. This defeat at the assembly has exposed a scheme by some politicians to use MCAs to fight the new governor. MCAs who voted for Gesami were 15, while those who voted against were 21. On the eve of the vote for the deputy governor nominee, there were claims that some politicians were influencing the exercise. Something to note as we talk about this. During the funeral, the burial of Governor Nyagarama, speaker after speaker stood up and they were talking to the deputy governor, Mr. Nyaribo, and they were telling Mr. Nyaribo, tafadhali, do not revenge. Vengeance is the Lord. Vengeance is mine, says the Lord.
What was this vengeance that they were referring to?
That's the story is. It becomes apparent when you speak to some people who understand what has been happening in Nyamira County, that this man had been sidelined for so long.
Is that not the story?
Especially the CECs. The CECs would treat the deputy governor as
is that not the story? Is that not the story? Is that not the story
around
of
the country?
Yes, of most deputies.
Yep.
Yes.
So now he's the one.
And now this matter of some politicians are said to be interfering. It's like someone telling you, this river has water. Of course it has water. That's why it's a river.
Okay, wow.
What's new?
Of course politicians will interfere. What do you think?
They'll try to do things.
That's how politics around the... Look, it's how it is played. They want to have a say in what happens. They want to ensure that someone who corresponds or someone who resonates with the idea of how things should be is in place. It happens all the time. Yes.
So why don't they play that game with the governor? Why don't they go to the governor and try to talk to the governor and tell him, what a governor, so and so is better?
Two things happen here. They probably do, but also remember, we also have a culture. We have institutionalized whining. Oh, unajua, for heaven's sake. And these are full-grown adults.
Whining in what case now?
See this one. Look.
Yes, it was political. It was politicized. There was interference.
There's this, so and so. And what you call kicking the can down the road, it was so and so who did this. It was, man up. If you don't like what happens in the political sphere, then don't
change
get into
it.
politics.
Or you change it.
Or change it, yes.
Kangumu.
Yes.
Kamagumo. Kangumu. Okay, so we'll have more conversations in the coming hour. Meanwhile, Jack Ma has resurfaced.
He has.
Just in time for us to get vaccines.
He'll donate them,
Oh.
you know. He'll donate, and then
we
you know
are
what will
lucky.
happen.
You know,
Fulizwa.
we were almost not gonna get some vaccines. Now Jack Ma is back.
You know, you Kenyans,
He has resurfaced.
you Kenyans, and your love for freebies.
Coming to the top of the hour, we're gonna have our guest. Hopefully, he'll be here in good time. This is the Kisumu East MP Shakil Shabir. Let's talk about the politics of Parliament. Okay, the water in the river. Oh, the river with the water. Good morning. It's now 7 o'clock.
Spice up your life.
Okay,
Traffic.
so Thika Road this morning, terrible accident at the Githurai car wash headed towards Thika, so that's outbound. There's a trailer lying on the road and there's heavy traffic now on both sides. This is going to be a crazy day on Thika Road, unfortunately. It is not moving, and even when it is extremely slow. So if you're headed in that direction, that is what is going on right around the Githurai car wash. Trailer lying in the middle of the road, waiting for services to come and start to remove that. There are over 6 cars now involved in that accident, apart from the trailer and as well as 2 lorries. So use the bypasses and the service lane from Roysambu if you're headed out. Please use that. Use the service lane, because if you join the traffic on the highway, you are going to be stuck for some time. It was a serious one, and they're trying to get that sorted. All right. On Mombasa Road, outbound is also moving a little bit slowly. Going into the city, right around the Nyeri Stadium roundabout, you're going to slow down just a little bit, then onto Uhuru Highway. So remember, east and southern bypasses, use them today. They are your friends. For now, it's looking a bit crazy as you're coming from Thika Road in and outbound, and also Mombasa Road. But we'll look at other areas in a short while, won't we? Yes. Spice FMKE. Reach us on Twitter or text 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
This is Kenya's biggest conversation, broadcasting on Spice FM for the next 2 hours. We're also live on KTN Home. Very good morning to you on KTN Home. We're also live on Spice FM KE, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and www.spicefm.co.ke. Our tradition is we begin every hour with the day's proverb. C.T. Muga.
If you think you are too small to make a difference, you have never spent a night with a mosquito.
That creature, man. If you think you're too small to make a difference, you've never
spent a night with a mosquito.
I agree. I agree. It's one of those where you have lived experience.
Indeed, lived experience.
Yeah.
And then some. With mosquitoes, you don't live it once. You live it very often. Mm-hmm. And if you can't learn that lesson, then let's take the view that you will never learn it.
You'll never learn it.
That's true. So, as we're talking about masks and this headline story in the Standard today, where are the 7 million masks for schools? And then we're talking about, there's a preliminary report by the Ministry of Education which shows that there's almost 100% compliance with all learners. There's 100%. There can never be almost 100. There's 100% compliance in terms of learners wearing masks, and in schools and everywhere. So our friend Justus from Kilifi sends me this message. He says, this week I've been on the road through Kilifi, Mombasa, Taita Taveta, Kitui. This story of masks are rumors. In Tito and Day, there was only one person with a mask. And that was me.
In the whole of it. Oh, wow, okay.
When he was there, he looked around. Only one person had mask on, and that was himself. By the time he got to Kibwezi, the number had reduced to 0. He had decided to comply.
He decided to comply and remove his mask.
So when you talk about 100% in school, learners in school, all of them, maybe the report actually could be a reporting issue. Maybe the thing is, does every learner report to school with a mask? It's possible. Do they wear the mask? That's another different story. Because that's not what we're talking about. Is access to a mask.
So in that sense, you're saying that the report then is true.
It's possible that every headmaster will be asked, so how many pupils come to your school without a mask?
No.
Like,
According to the report,
we have parade.
According to the report, masks have reached schools. That's from the Ministry of Education. According to the Ministry of Health.
Wait, is it masks have reached schools that must to be distributed, or is it that learners have masks?
Learners have masks.
Yes.
Okay? And these masks that they're talking about, understand that the 7 million masks was a combination of contributions from banks, Kenya Commercial Bank, it was from the Children's Fund of UNICEF, and also from the Ministry of Health. The distribution point was the Ministry of Health. According to the Ministry of Health, same Ministry of Health, not another one, they have not finished the distribution. In some cases, they've not even started. Give and take, maybe we're at the end of January now, isn't it? Okay, getting towards the end of January.
After schools reopened.
3 weeks after schools reopened. And according to the Ministry of Health, we have not finished. We are not even halfway. We will do it. So I'm puzzled as to how you would say that there is 100%, you've established 100% around the country, everybody in school has a mask. That's what they've said. Everybody in school has a mask. Meanwhile, where you're supposed to be getting it from, they've said that they've not finished distribution.
I think there's a reporting issue. The way I understand it is that a preliminary survey conducted in schools on the need for masks has established that there may not be that need for masks because every child reports to school with a mask. Whether that mask was given to them by their parent, whether they share the mask in the evening, it's not the point. It's that the child has a mask. So it raises the issue of, then we need to go and procure those masks and take the masks, distribute the masks.
I would take it even further, Eric.
This is beyond whether they have actually, the masks have been distributed or not. It is need. Is there a need for masks? No, 100% have masks. You take it further, City.
I would actually ask the question. We perhaps need to actually do our own in-depth understanding or survey of this issue, call school heads, talk to schools and find out. We've read the report because there's a verification issue here. What really is
what's the situation?
What really is the situation?
But we could also be looking at a situation where parents who sent their children to school realized that they were not going to get help from the government in terms of masks and decided to make the sacrifice and send their children to school with masks. So now by the time the Ministry of Health or Ministry of Education did this report, they realized, hold on a minute, the children in school already have masks. The point or the source of this provision we have not been able to establish, which was really not their business. They just went and they said, oh, wait a minute, everybody in class, tick, 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 has a mask. So it could be that everybody went ahead and did what they needed to do to protect their children and were not waiting for the government to provide. Then now you ask yourself, so if everybody has a mask, this distribution that we're waiting on from the Ministry of Health, then is it worth it? Is it necessary?
Okay. So many other questions will follow that. So is it a piece of clothing around their mouth or is it an actual mask that meets the basics of what a mask should be?
Well, I think it's clear at this point that nobody's really looking at the real protection of it.
Because then it brings it all those questions. This, according to the story in the Standard, it was a preliminary report tabled during a meeting that was held last week to discuss the matter of the masks. The meeting was attended by how many people? Another meeting of the multi-sector committee held last week to review the reopening measures after 1 week of classes did not mention the masks from the Ministry of Health. But this one was attended by Magoha, the CS for Education, Cecilia Kariuki for Water, Sanitation and Irrigation, Joe Mushero for Information and ICT, Dr. Fred Matiangi, the one for Interior and Coordination. CS Kagwe did not attend that meeting. Transport CS James Masharia sent a representative. And so that's where it's being reported here that there was a preliminary finding that was tabled and discussed in that meeting that said everybody is reporting that all learners are in school with masks. Now, further details of what was then discussed beyond that, we don't have here. So we also cannot really rely on what we are calling a preliminary finding that we have not seen. It's a preliminary report that was tabled in a meeting that some people who attended the meeting then were able to share with our media colleagues. So we don't know here. What's the point is, has the distribution of the 7 million masks started? Are people aware of these 7 million masks that are coming from the government free of charge to learners who are needy? There was to be establishment of some committees in schools, in communities, in counties to look at needs and identify those who are really in need, that they require to receive a mask. Have those been established? Has that been rolled out? Have they started receiving these masks? Big question. And when you see that so many months down the road, desks have still not, only Nairobi has achieved 100% of the allocation of desks that were to receive, then you have to raise these questions as well and ask yourself,
what exactly is going on?
Yeah. Is it really possible?
So that then are we going to see that they will go? Will these masks then reach schools later? Was it not just a waste of resources? Look at the contributions that were made. If it is in fact that you made this announcement and parents then had to prepare for the same, did you take into consideration that perhaps they would do it on their own? Or did you go ahead and spend the money that could easily have been spent on something else? Because you have a backlog. You have unpaid money for certain other things that could have been sorted out. So it looks like there's a little double work that's being done here. And it just, in terms of planning, it just makes things look like it's a mess. But it's clear. One thing is clear to me, that parents were not waiting for the government to say, well, here you go. Parents knew that they had to send their children to school, and they went ahead and did what they needed to do.
Yeah.
So when they went ahead and made their findings, they realized, hold on a minute, these masks that we're running helter-skelter to figure out, parents have already provided for their children. So even this distribution that you're doing, it's a waste of money. It's a waste of resources because they're already done. They're not waiting for you.
Anyway, so yesterday we got a call from the MP for Kisumu East, Shakil Shabir, when we were after we had the interview with the Cabinet Secretary in charge of the National Treasury and Planning. And remember, the CS for National Treasury was saying, when it comes to the debt register, this is provided to Parliament. Members of Parliament are given access to this data. You can also go to the National Treasury website and you'll find information about our debt and our debt situation. Shakil Shabir called immediately and said, that is misinformation. I have been a member of the Committee for Finance for 3 consecutive terms, and every time we keep asking for this information. So it comes in piecemeal. You'll get some bit of information here that is not complete. The next time you ask, you get some other bit of information that is incomplete. That if you try to put those two together, they do not even match. So there's a whole issue of how the National Treasury reports to the National Assembly, and it should be reporting to the National Assembly because the National Assembly passes budget, the National Assembly passes appropriations, and the National Assembly has the mandate to check how the government is spending money. So if you're coming to the National Assembly and you're presenting half-baked information, and the National Assembly then asks for this information, but the National Assembly goes ahead to still pass the budget, goes ahead to pass supplementary budget, where's the gap? And that's where the MP told us, for example, when it comes to raising the debt ceiling, or when it comes to raising, for example, the Finance Act, questions are raised. There's a lot of disquiet among members of Parliament. What happens? Some people from some offices are seen in Parliament, and they give members of Parliament something, some inducement, to the tune of sometimes 50,000 shillings. 50,000 shillings for you just to vote and pass this thing. Forget about all the questions you're asking on behalf of Kenyans. Just pass this. This is not the first time that Shakil Shabir has said this. He said this before. He's not also the only MP who has leaked or let's say in Kiswahili, kupasua mbarika on such matters. It happens a lot. We have seen MP Waluke coming out and say, oh yes, this happens. I mean, you just go there on the corridor and you meet someone who tells you, you know what, here, vote this way. You heard the rumors when there was a standoff in the Senate about the allocation to the counties and the division to the counties. And there were all these rumors about, money changing hands, people being seen, people having been told what to do, and then they get into the floor of the house and they disappeared during the time for voting. Some people also now being victimized, being looked for, being, lessons being sent, messages being sent to them on what is likely to happen to you if you don't play ball. So it's sort of become like, the way City you were saying yesterday, corruption has just become so normal that you hear about it and you're like, 50. So the issue that you have with is 50K surely. 50K for just one vote. Should have asked for more or less. What's our problem?
You talk about the 50,000 shillings, and ask yourself, what is the average wage of Kenyans? 50,000 considered an excellent wage. Not good, excellent.
Yep.
For a day's work, yeah.
Not a day, a month's work.
A month's work, imagine.
Okay.
And then that's gross, and then it is taxed. And someone who receives it is happy to live by it. But when you get to a point where people who are already being paid a hefty amount of money to actually conduct the business of looking after the affairs of the citizens of this country, and then that an amount such as that is mentioned as being, this is not even a day, it is for that period of time.
Just a session.
Yes. It is a lot of money if you look at it that way. But when it is referred to almost in derogatory terms as just 50,000, it tells you the depth of the decay. Meaning, it isn't what you are doing, but anything that someone brings to your table for discussion or for consideration, a price tag is placed on it and in a huge amount. Now, such a mindset, when you then bring up real issues of what is happening in the country and how it needs to be handled, do you think that is a mindset that is tuned in to listen and to understand the problems that are with us and how they should be resolved?
Nope.
Do you think that when such a mindset, a serious issue as the issue of debt ceiling is brought to them, what do you think they're going to consider first?
They're like, you guys really need this one, eh?
And you want us to vote? Precisely.
Price goes up.
Yes. And it'll go up in terms of we now need further allowance, not just for houses, but we want this.
Yeah.
And we want everybody, irrespective of whether you've been an MP for 2 months or a year or 10 years, to get pension. And this is the sort of pension we want.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. And by the way, in addition to this, the insurance is for 5 children. We want it to be for 8. Yeah. That's the sort of discussion that you'll hear taking place. They will negotiate, not ask the viable questions as to this money that you want us to actually get. Yes, we know we have that power, but what guarantees do we have that you will actually do what you said you're going to do with it?
Yeah.
Please table for us what it is that you're going to do so that we can discuss it and the fail-safes that you put in place that will ensure that these things actually get done. Because we have to go back and respond to what will be asked. Because we'll be asked, we borrowed this money, what have we put it to?
Yep.
That discussion doesn't seem to be at the forefront of the thinking of the people whom we have entrusted with these duties.
No, it really
and you're
isn't.
talking 50,000. One hears of even lesser amounts.
Yep. Can you imagine? Just pass by the loo and you get 10,000 shillings and you go out there and you vote this way or that way. Or you make sure that you're absent during voting.
Yes. And then the blame is on the citizenry who always demand bribes. Actually, this isn't even a chicken and egg situation. No. Because who tells you must bribe prospective voters? You don't have to.
Yep.
If you set the stage by ensuring that is what they anticipate, then don't blame them.
Look at this with some depth, and actually should probably put a bit of a quake in your boots, because if you're saying that a lot of things that then go through the rigors of legislating in this country then are hinged on how much individuals are going to be able to put in their pocket, my goodness, this thing is going to the dogs. That planning, that legislating, planning the way in which the country is going to go, voting, making decisions on laws, making decisions on how money will be spent, essentially making decisions on how Kenyans are going to live, really is in the hands of those who today will take 100,000 shillings as they go to the washroom. And then they make a decision just like that because how happy their pockets are in a day. By the time you've reduced the operations of a developing country to something like that, you guys, there are problems. There's a problem. Big one.
If you talk to people who are in that sphere, the logic behind it, if it was just an academic subject, would be sound. But if you are thinking of that logic and placing it against a backdrop of a decision that is being made and that will influence the lives of all the people, it is not only bizarre, it is actually frightening.
It's frightening. It is frightening.
See, we talk about mortgaging our country to the lenders. That's not where the mortgage takes place.
The mortgage takes place at the legislature when that thing is being legislated on the decisions that you're going to make. Because if 4, 5, 6 people are taking 100,000 shillings here to go vote in a certain direction, before whomever even comes into the shores of the country, that decision has been made. The decision has been made, people's pockets are lined, they're happy, and you've gone on. And here you are running about, giving your vote, saying this way in which you want things to be, and that decision has already been made.
And when they come to funerals and other places, they will not be talking about what they were given.
No.
Or the kind of decision that they made. They'll be talking about other things. So-and-so is a bigger thief. Or so-and-so is the one we should be having rotational presidency. Yet they know the kind of games they play. You know, nowadays, if you talk to any parliamentarian and you even ask them, so how much contribution do you actually make on the floor of the House? They'll tell you, no, you know, work of Parliament nowadays is done in the committees. Okay. And that's why you find that there are several committees that are crucial, that members of certain political parties will look at who is in that committee, who reports to me, who is my ally who sits in that committee. If it's a committee of health, committee on budget, committee on finance, committee on public accounts, those are committees that people are really, really keen to see who is sitting there, because such things will happen. Because such things such conversations will happen in those committees. You want us to make a report that favors this particular direction, then see us on a Sisikando. We'll come up with a report where you will unanimously recommend to the whole House to adopt this report that says everything here we've checked and it's all good. Did you see the number of committees that were running up and down wanting to investigate KEMSA? And we ask ourselves why? Why does a health committee need to investigate KEMSA and then a parliamentary accounts committee need to investigate KEMSA? Why not combine and make it a joint parliamentary probe into KEMSA?
Because now
brings in the Senate and the National Assembly. Why? Every committee is sitting, every committee is summoning leadership of KEMSA, every committee is summoning those who did business with KEMSA. What do you think happens on the side of that? You guys, we can fix you. If you don't do it, we can fix you.
So you need to lean in a certain direction.
And I'm sure some members of parliament will listen to this and say, Eric, you have no evidence. Okay, I have no evidence, of course, but this is all from what we observe and see. And we've also heard from your colleagues, members of parliament. We hear of the kind of shenanigans that happens. Calls. You find a report that has been compiled, has taken so long to compile. A report by the Senate committee into the managed equipment scheme.
How did that one work?
It was supposed to be released at a certain time. It wasn't released. Then it is released. And you look at the report, it calls this thing, it was a criminal commercial enterprise. And then at the end of it, it says, now we need further investigations into everybody who was involved. Who was involved? Why do you think people who are senior, people who are even they have proper experience as being parliamentarians, some of them are even lawyers. They know what reports should look like. They know what language to use in a report. But then when it comes to recommendations of a serious committee report like that, it falls short. Why? It raises the questions, was there bribery that happened in the writing of this report, in the production of this report? Are there questions that need to be asked on why do we see this kind of work? It's not necessarily because that the senators were incompetent. No, they are not incompetent. They're not. The Committee on Health on KEMSA comes up with a report. Why is it that it doesn't mention who else needs to be investigated? It just says people up here and that. What happens behind the scenes? when you hear an MP like Shakil Shabir coming out to say, when you hear an MP like Waluke coming to say, or even Gathoni wa Mushomba has also gone out publicly to say, we have heard very many MPs who say, there's a lot of bribery that takes place here.
So then you want to say that a lot of the decisions that were made, because then you can infer. You can then infer that a lot of the decisions that have been made have been done as a result of somebody being bribed. And so then what depth do they have?
Not only that.
Is there really concern when it then comes to development? Is there really interest in making sure that things are being made better? The look and the feel of the citizen when it comes to now these decisions that are being made, it really doesn't, and it really does make it all look like a joke, like an absolute joke. Because all you needed was a little bit of money in your pocket to make a decision in a certain direction. And then you come wondering, how do we get ourselves into this mess? And then we start talking about things like, it's in the contracting. We start talking about
You know why I
like
call it frightening? Huh? What then I find really frightening is that we talk about the debt ceiling, but let's look at legislation that is actually passed, which is supposed to influence or better our lives. You see, that is up for sale. So when we ask the question, but what legislation do we have that caters for this or covers this? And you find gaps. Yet we have a parliament that is well educated, well informed. We have committees that are populated by people who know the subject matter of the committees that they are in. So this isn't a situation where you're going to say, something, human resource deficiency. None of it exists.
Nope. Even parliamentary staff who actually work and serve these committees and serve parliament, they're very well educated people.
They're fit for the job.
Completely.
And yet, you will find that there are all these gaps. So, for instance, we keep talking about the MES saga, KEMSA saga. Can one blame the citizenry when they have this apathy towards these things? Because all this drama is something that you observe on a daily basis. You see it, you witness it. It's not something, forget being told, you actually witness it. Because there are things, we have a high literacy rate in this country, so people can read. And then we have radio stations, even in vernacular. So even if you don't understand English very well, you'll be able to understand it in your vernacular or in Kiswahili. These things are reported, so people get to know. So when there's a shortfall or when something isn't done as you do know.
Indeed. Let's take a break at 27 minutes past 7. We are discussing the rot that is in Kenya's parliament. What exactly is happening? We elect people, they go to the National Assembly, then they sell us short. Basically, they mortgage the right that we've given them, our sovereignty, for 30 pieces of silver. In some cases, even less. Even Judas had a bit of some pride, man.
Maybe even 30 pieces of copper.
Yes, not even silver in this case.
Yes.
Or bronze. 27 after 7, we'll be back shortly. Let's take a look at what's happening on the roads, and then we'll hopefully have our guest in the studio. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Have you seen them? Am I live?
Yes, it's a very nice outfit, I must say. Good
Thank
job.
you. Asante sana.
The compliment is well received.
Good morning and thank you. Everyone in Wasingishu was asking me what channel is Spice FM.
96.7. Tell them that, right?
Yes, now they know.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have
What
you.
a beautiful studio, my friend.
I've been to other radio stations, but I've never seen anything like this.
Thank you, and it's very nice to be in a modern studio. Absolutely brilliant.
And I have to say, it's a very cool ambiance here in your radio room. Just for our listeners, I think it is below zero in this room here. Very Swiss temperatures.
All right, looking into Nairobi this morning, clear conditions, at least for now, 15 degrees, and it will be sunny for most parts of this morning, highs of 27 and lows of 15, 10 degrees in Nyeri and sunny conditions, highs of 25 and lows of 13. It's partly sunny in Nakuru at 12, going to highs of 27, we'll see lows of 14. It's 11 degrees in Eldoret and sunny conditions, highs of 26 and lows of 14. It's sunny in Kisumu at 18, highs of 28 and lows of 18. Kakamega is sunny at 18, lows of 14 and highs of 30. It will be highs of 32 in Mombasa today, mostly cloudy at 25. Light rain in Malindi at 27 currently, highs of 31 and lows of 25. Kampala is partly sunny today at 19, highs of 26 and lows of 18. We're looking at highs of 32 and lows of 27 in Dar es Salaam, where it's sunny this morning. It's also sunny in Johannesburg at 14, highs of 27 and lows of 15. Lagos, there's a haze over the city at 26. We'll see highs of 33 and lows of 23. It's partly cloudy in Kinshasa, highs of 32 and lows of 23.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Everything nice.
Spice up your life. Traffic.
Okay, let's look at where it is clear. Kipande Road all the way from Westlands to town. So there's an option if you're trying to get into the CBD coming out of Westlands. You can use Kipande if you're not ready to stick on Uhuru Highway, at least for now. Mombasa Road, it doesn't make sense for people right now. Not even at Cabanas yet. And some people who left at 5:30. It's moving very, very slowly outbound. Thika Road was terrible this morning, and it still is because of that accident that took place right around Githurai, and now there's traffic in both directions. Kiambu Road is not helping matters either. Everybody coming off of Kiambu Road, joining the melee that is on the Thika Superhighway today. So that's crazy there. Mombasa Road as well. So here there's a problem. Okay, there's a demolition of stalls that will happen around Ngara today. The stalls along Desai Road have been demolished, and there's heavy police presence there. It's affecting traffic. So everywhere you look today, there's quite some traffic. We'll give you details as we get updated more. But for now, if you can avoid these areas, do that and use the bypasses. They will help. Spice FMKE on Twitter. That's where you can talk to us, or text on 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
It's 29 minutes to 8 o'clock. The conversation continues right here on Spice FM on KTN Home, online www.spicefm.co.ke, and Spice FM KE on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter. This is an every weekday morning, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. The hosts are Eric Latif, Ndu Oko, and C.T. Muga. We're having a conversation about the rot that is in Kenya's parliament. This is because of a call that we received yesterday after our interview with the CS for the National Treasury, Okuri Atani. We got called by the Kisumu East MP, Shakil Shabir. He told us, well, a number of the things that the CS is saying that have happened in terms of like tabling reports into parliament, some of these reports are not sent. In terms like the dead register is not sent. We keep raising these questions and we don't get them. And then when it comes to voting, why is it that the MPs will then vote for what has been presented by the National Treasury without proper compliance? And the MP told us, there are some things that happen there. There's even bribery that takes place. So we have invited him and we asked him to come so we can have this conversation with him this morning so that we can now discuss this with him. Mheshimiwa Shakil Shabir, thank you very much for joining us. Welcome to the situation.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry I'm late. I got messed up on the Mombasa Road and we overshot. So I had to come back by border. A great system, the border.
Yes.
Yes. If we can just have them fine-tuned.
If they can behave.
Actually, they've revolutionized transportation in this
They have,
country.
totally. You take you from one spot to another.
True.
And without any hesitation.
Paul Sana, we're glad that
No, thank you so much.
It.
I did get up very early, but that's the way it is. I'm sorry.
It is what it is. All right, Mheshimiwa, so we already started having this conversation and we're asking ourselves, yours was not the first time when we've heard of this underhand deals that take place in Parliament in terms of being influenced to make certain decisions in certain ways. And we ask ourselves, so when people come to a ballot every 5 years, they elect a member of Parliament to go and represent them in the National Assembly, or a senator to go and represent them in the Senate, and then you hear some of the decisions that have been made are not always to the best interest of that wananchi, but to the interest of the individual member who takes some inducement. Where do we go wrong? But just give us this you started by telling us that this happens quite often
Yes,
in terms of being induced.
You see, when I first stood for Parliament, even as the mayor of the city of Kisumu, I had these visions that we are going to go into making change. But once you get into this particular institutions, sometimes your priority changes. I think what really bothers me, and others like us. I want to first introduce myself as the member of APNAC, the African Parliamentarians Against Corruption. We are a African body and a global body, and I am the chair of the Kenya APNAC, and the global one I'm on the board. The idea really is that as leaders, we are meant to have certain integrity, certain values, certain image. And the image of Parliament, image of limit, has eroded over time. I mean, I remember when I came in 2007, Parliament was very changed from what it is right now. And I've felt it in this 13 years now, actually, 13 years, that our values have changed. Our price, the price we put on ourselves, let's put it that way, has changed. You know, it was very difficult to go and influence a member of Parliament, maybe in 2007, maybe it was even more difficult earlier. But I think the Parliament has been taken, over this time, has been taken hostage by the legislature, by the executive. Also, money, cash for questions. It's not only here, it's all over. Cash for questions. The real thing is, how are we going to regain our image as parliamentarians? When you call us MPigs, you do this and you call us that. And we are not doing too much. We are also allowing ourselves, our image, to be eroded. Our speaker himself has said it a number of times. You know, we go to Parliament with 300 and something members, and you find 10, 15 sitting there. So many times we have lost value. We are there sometimes, some of us seem to be there to be what's the word, influenced. As I think you said yesterday.
You mean it's
lobby.
Like people make themselves available for influence?
Yes, of course. You see, in the US, there's lobbying. In the United Kingdom, there's probably lobbying. And I think you said too that maybe we should make that legal so that everybody knows. The thing is integrity. We as parliamentarians, when we were elected by our people, we were meant to be transparent, clean, and go to represent our people. Unfortunately, this is not the case. Many times we find ourselves induced by other things. You know, our role was going to be very different.
Putting it mildly, induced, because you would assume that there was a kind of coaxing out, please do this. But it seems like now it's a lot more outright, based on what you were saying yesterday and based on what we're able to hear. So it's a bit frightening as we think about it now, Mheshimiwa, is that if certain things are being legislated in this country, or certain decisions are being taken, the influence is money.
The influence is money and short-term gain.
So you sacrificed the development of the country and its people on the altar of money.
And the people who we represent.
So how do we trust you?
That's the point. How do you trust us? You know, we have to create that trust. To break trust is very easy. To create trust is very difficult. And so, you see, the thing is, it is up to us individuals now as members of Parliament. And you see, we have an ethics committee. We have a standards and ethics committee. I've left it in the car. I have a document that thick. On the last time we talked about, it was even brought in Parliament, people taking money in the toilets. Do you remember?
Yep.
It went to the Powers and Privileges Committee. I wrote to the Speaker, and I said to the Speaker, look, I'm the chairman of APNAC, the African Parliamentarians Against Corruption. Could I sit in on this particular meeting? And the clerk then put it to the Powers and Privileges Committee. They refused. Why? Said, no, this guy's an anti-corruption people. They're not, he's cleaner than clean, you see, or so-called image. So, and then they whitewashed it. And there's a big, thick report like this. Whoever made the allegations then withdrew the allegations. So when it came to Parliament, it was shot down.
So basically, it never saw the light of day.
No, it did not.
And this was a report on corruption
That's
in
correct.
the corridors
in
of
the
Parliament.
corridors where people had made accusations against members of Parliament, and people had been clearly seen giving money. And even it went all the way to the Powers and Privileges Committee. But after that, it seemed to have died down. And I think that is where we are talking. When you are in the UK, it's not that it doesn't happen there. There's Standards and Ethics Committee. But that Standard and Ethics Committee is not solely made of members of Parliament. 50% of it is outsiders. So that they can say, it's a 51%, judges and others. And 50% or 49% are members of Parliament. I think it's maybe 49 and 51. So that when they make a decision, it is seen to be representative for the people's voice. Yes, that's right.
I'm looking back and wondering, why is it that people would find it so much easier to go and bribe members of Parliament as opposed to arguing their case?
Do you remember?
And in this particular case, we are not even talking about commercial interests here for the private sector trying to influence members of Parliament. We are talking about one arm of government trying to influence another arm of government.
Yes.
Why would we get to a point where the executive feels that the only way it can get its agenda going forth on the floor of the House is by bribing members of the National Assembly?
You see, the executive are meant to be overseen by the legislature. Now let's just talk about these recent cases. The minister was here. He spoke about the state of the nation.
Yeah.
Do you know, firstly, what we need to do, we need governance. Yeah. And you see, when you're talking about the state of the nation, the question really is, why does he then, according to the committees, the finance committee on which I sit, the minister, we oversee the minister. Of course, we have guidance. We have the Parliamentary Budget Office and others who are telling us what we should do, whether it's tax, etc. Then there are the mandarins at the Treasury. I say mandarins with respect. Then there's the mafia at the Treasury. Yeah, and I say that with the Duke.
Disrespect.
Well, I want disdain. Yes. They're the mandarins. So what happens is sometimes you get the minister coming over, and they've already talked to the chair of the finance committee and others, and influenced the decisions that are going to be made. Of course, they come with presentations and everything else, but the decision, when you now start asking questions, you are shot down. Sometimes the decisions are already made. You see, the thing is, what are the key drivers that we needed? You see, we needed pragmatic leadership, which we don't have. In Parliament, now we're talking.
Right.
We need efficient public service in the executive, right? We need good governance. We need skills. All of these things, these are all coming to Chapter 6. Yeah? Now, if under the tax laws that we had in December 1, we all knew that those the turnover tax and other things were not good for us.
They're going to hurt people.
We knew it, and there was a hue and cry. And if you remember, even the Jubilee, the ruling party, and its coalition partners started calling all members of Parliament, whipping them to come and participate and vote, because we were going to lose it. And this here, you see, became political. Tanga versus the other group. So the thing is coming. So the presentation is made, and of course it comes to the Parliament. And somebody comes and says, don't worry, we're taking care of you guys for Christmas.
So just pass this thing.
Well,
we will
of
take
course.
care of you.
No. We've made arrangements. And then after the thing is passed, you go to the office of our whips, and they pick up some money. Now, was that just a gesture for Christmas? If it was, did it come from the parliamentary budget? Or where did it come from? You see, the situation is this. We don't mind. The executive must be overseen by the legislator. But when the legislator are now being taken as hostage by the executive for whatever reason, yes, we are now bound by what they want us to do.
Really? Are you bound?
Would one not
No.
really say that the legislature have allowed themselves to
Yes,
be taken hostage?
exactly.
It's not your hands are shackled by force. It's
No.
kind of as if you're offering up your hands and saying, well, here I am, please take me.
Yes.
It's just that you're giving me some money as we go along. It seems to me that this money that's being taken, it's not by force. You could actually make the decision
explain this
not
to me.
to take the money and do
Explain
the
this
job.
to us.
Exactly.
Explain this to us. What is it that allows your colleagues to descend to these low moral levels? What is it? What's the driver? What is the impulse? What is it that makes them?
It's not that makes them. What makes you take a shortcut?
Yes.
What makes you take a shortcut what stopped me from telling my driver, stop here, reverse, against the traffic, because I was not that far away. No, that is wrong. So what it is, within us all, we have that particular balance. When the balance is gone, because the way everything is going in this country, we don't have values. We're losing our values. We're losing the respect and the ethics of, say, the parliament. I've been to certain parliaments where people respect just the parliamentarian for the person he is, and he gets paid very little money. And I think that is what I'm saying. I mean, APNEC, for argument's sake, I mean, in the 207 Parliament or the 10th Parliament, people were coming and signing for each other. And I decided myself to go and sit there and see who's signing for who. And I started telling, oh, no, you can't sign for this guy. I was nearly beaten up. And I was called by the speaker and I was told, what are you doing? Because these people asking, are you the prefect?
Why were they signing for others?
For the allowances. So you see how things changed.
See.
So we as APNEC
So the records show that this person attended this
That's
meeting.
correct. So what we started doing here, you see what we say, little things make changes.
Yep.
If you had allowed that to continue, yes, it would have gone out of proportion. Now then when we brought the electronic card, then we brought the fingerprint. Right?
Now it's biometric.
Biometric. Yes. And you know that little thing that we made, a little difference that we made. And of course the speaker was very good with us and he listened to us and what we wanted to do. I said, listen, if we cannot control ourselves by our own actions, we will not be able to stand to account to others. That little thing, believe me, my brother, sister, the United Kingdom called me to ask us how we made that difference. The United Kingdom, the UK Parliament, everybody started to do this thing, the biometric. So what I'm trying to suggest is, APNEC is a body that is, we are looking for members. We are a network of organizations. We want to strengthen the capacity. We want to have transparency. We want to stop corruption. There are many, many cases. We want to be the crusaders of fighting corruption, but it must be done bit at a time, like the hummingbird.
Mheshimiwa, how is APNEC funded?
Ourselves.
Explain. What do you mean yourselves?
We each contribute some money.
So every member
contributes 3,000 to 5,000 shillings a month. We are about 30 members, and we're not funded by anybody.
Do you have a secretariat?
Yes, we were a very small one. Myself, one secretary, and we are 8 members of the board. So the idea is, it was very big. The global one was funded by the Canadians. The APNEC one was funded by, again, the Canadians. There was millions of dollars. But they themselves could not be accountable. So we as APNEC Kenya, we are funding ourselves.
Mheshimiwa, do you think you can be transparent with the people that you currently have who've already taken? who, because as far as I'm concerned, there's already blood in the water.
Yes.
Do you think you can form a transparent group of people who are going to be legislators in this country who've already been used to taking the odd bribe here and there, and then you want to come and tell them, actually, you know what, guys, let's do this the right way.
Exactly.
Do you think
And
it's
it's working.
possible? Do you think it's
working.
possible with people who've already been tainted?
It's working. You see,
Explain. How is it working?
It's working. You know, if I'll give you an example. When we were talking about the 11th Parliament, the ethics, the leadership and integrity bill, you know, it was being torn apart just before the independence.
Yep.
Before
The
there were
election.
only 4 or 5 of us objected, and we objected at every single clause. There was Martha Karua, that was in the 10th Parliament, Martha Karua, Shabesh, and a few others. And you see, when we do this thing, people take notice. And our brothers and sisters say, oh, Mheshimiwa, why are you doing this? Because I think we need to clean ourselves. And I think this is where I stand. If I am going to show by way of my own action, that we want to be more transparent, we do not want this $50 or $100 on one side. We don't want it. Then the price will change. You see, when there was a time you could say, why pay a lawyer when you can buy the judge?
Yeah.
It's the same situation here. You see, when we are now being lobbied, and sometimes, you know, I sometimes really feel the Finance Committee, for argument's sake, we are being lobbied by professional bodies, and they're coming with beautiful documents telling us what and what and what. Yeah, making logical sense. And then there's somebody just
50,000 shillings and all that.
They just comes and we make outrageous decisions. Outrageous. Where there is a waiver of sugar, like, you know, sugar tax just because for 24 hours or 48 hours, or make a decision on sports pesa,
Yep.
or make a decision on this tax to soft, you know, like Netflix, etc. You know, sometimes we just don't make decisions based on fact. We make decision
based on how much money
based
you're
on
giving.
influence.
How deep is this rot, Mheshimiwa? How bad is it? Are we saying that the majority of decisions that are made on the floor are a result of, you know, bribery? Let's just call a spade a spade.
I wouldn't want
Is
to.
it bad?
I think, no, I won't call it bad, but I think when a critical decision, even if it is one case, it is bad. Because we cannot allow that. It is something that we as parliamentarians have allowed ourselves to go on the other side.
I think it's bad. It's
Yeah,
bad
yeah, no.
if we say that, for example, the tax laws that you passed in December, if we can say that there's likelihood many members voted
Yes,
after
would have
inducement.
voted the other way.
Would have voted no, but then they were induced to vote for that bill.
That's right.
Then the situation is pretty bad.
Yes.
Because you're talking about a majority. Being able to sway and get a majority on a critical vote, you get a critical mass of people who would vote yes. That means many have been induced. Then the situation is bad, Mheshimiwa.
You know, how many people were there the other day when it was there? It was hardly 50 people. Yes. So when the other guys are saying we're taking short-term gain. Sometimes when this presentation is made to us, it's made professionally. I've left it in my file. I will show you documents. The budget parliamentary office does so much work. We come up with alternative budgets. We come up with alternative scenarios. And nobody wants to read them. And then somebody just says, listen, we want to increase our tax or reduce our thing or whatever. And now because of the big four, there's no strategy.
If you allow me to ask you a specific question, there's a problem that has dogged this country for a long time, and this is the ever-increasing debt portfolio that we have acquired.
Yes.
All right?
Yes.
What is it, apart from what you've just mentioned, that determines the decision our legislators make in allowing the executive to simply up whatever debt that we already have?
Here I want to take personal responsibility as a member of the Finance Committee.
Yes.
And I will expect my others also to do so. We have failed.
How?
Parliament, we stand accused. And rightly so. Because we are meant to have been their oversight, not to be used by them for for increasing the
debt ceiling.
Debt on whimsical reasons, and they come up with so much documentation which is not the proper stuff. You know, they give you what is, I won't say fraud, but different information. I want to give you this by example. When the present CS Uktani came to see us in September, and he came with all honesty and said, listen, we need to increase the debt ceiling because of this. We were already upset about the debt ceiling. So they came to us and said, listen, we've got commercial loans, we've got short-term loans, they're very expensive. If we raise it up to 6 trillion, we will be able to get rid of some of these commercial loans. We'll reorganize, restructure them. We will refuse to take other loans. We will limit future borrowings. We'll restructure the debt. We will make sure we take long-term loans for in a long-term process. We will not take this Eurobond type of loans, etc., etc. You know, he made that to me. And we said, can we have the debt management unit now be autonomous? Yes? And he said, no, we're going to make it autonomous. It is autonomous. The UK, it is autonomous. So we started, and he gave us that assurance. He gave me that assurance. I was sitting there, asked. However, November comes, he comes with a supplementary one. Totally against the promises that he had made. Then supplementary 2. Then the 2020-2021 budget, deficit budget. You know, this only, we should have a motion to impeach this guy. He's lying to Parliament. He lied to us. And then he has the audacity to continue. And he's saying that we have become subservient to the whims of the executive. So he comes and says all this information. He may have been, at that time, been genuine. He has got now stuff that he is now... Our Parliamentary Budget Office has given us medium-term debt strategy. He's not following that. You know, he's decided, you see, under the Public Finance Management Act, the CS has to give authority, shall give authority to the Public Debt Office to manage the debt. Shall. Since 2012 to now, nothing has happened. No CS has given that authority. So you see what
is there a time when any minister in that particular department, is there a time when this department has been given that sort of authority?
No.
Not since the new constitution.
No, they haven't. You see, the UK has done that.
But with the old constitution? You are an MP even with the old constitution.
Yes, I was.
Yes.
The Public Finance Act was not there.
Yeah.
It was not there.
It's a creation of this constitution.
That was creation of this constitution.
Let's take a break at this point for KTN Home. We'll be back. We are having a conversation with Shakil Shabir. He's the MP for Kisumu East on the corruption in Parliament and the affairs of Parliament being subservient to the National Executive. But also we'll have him as we have a conversation in the next hour about food security. Remember, we have this segment we call Agri Talk. We'll be having that conversation shortly. Keep it right here. KTN Home. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. 87.9 Spice FM, Mombasa.
Okay, so we are back, and we still have Mheshimiwa Shakil Shabir in the house. So you're saying that, for example, the CS for the National Treasury came in his argument for raising the debt ceiling. He made some very compelling arguments, and you gave him conditional authority to do this. Among them was, of course, to establish and give independence to the Parliament, to the Debt Office, the Public Debt Management Office, and others. The Parliamentary Budget Office does a lot of work, as you tell us, and then the National Treasury completely disregards this. But the National Assembly votes for the arguments that have been put forth by the National Treasury. Where is that disconnect? Beyond just saying that there's money being spent, what else makes MPs?
You see, we are meant to ask for what reason. You see, as I said, the CS, he's meant to make policies. Yes? But here he's implementing as well for the debt management.
Yeah.
Debt management unit, exactly that. Manage our public debt to certain requirements, whether it is percentage of our GDP, whatever and whatever. We have overshot all those so-called limits. On what basis you implement the debt? Implementing. So I went yesterday. I said, okay, now Shakil, I've been talking too much. Let me just go. We are changing the debt management. We've had a new bill, which is not going fine, not going very well. So I walked over yesterday to the Minister of Finance. The minister wasn't there. The PS was in another meeting. So I said, I'll go to the debt management unit. I want to see that, because when the minister came, we asked the minister in September, and ever since we have asked him, you have promised to take us to see the debt management unit. Like the KRA, we go and see the KRA, we see how these people are working. We find the debt management unit on the first floor in a corner, 3-4 dingy rooms. Nobody knows what's happening, the deputy director. So I meet one of the directors, I said, can you give me the debt management register? It's public knowledge. Oh, I'll have to check with somebody. So they finally, after 2 hours of me sitting there, I get a debt management register up to 2018, which they said they sent to the Parliament. Finance Committee, have not seen that. I've not seen it. But if I've not seen it, so let's say it was sitting somewhere, they don't want us to see it.
Yeah. Tell me the procedure. If something is sent to Parliament, what process does it go through before it gets to the committee?
It should go to the clerk. The clerk would then forward it to the relevant committee who is making decisions.
And when you checked with the clerk, they had not received the document.
Unfortunately, the Parliament is more or less closed right now for many. The Finance Committee, where I was looking for this document, was...
Are you in recess?
Yes. But, some of the people had gone for... you see, the public debt unit has increased from... I did something from 500,000 to 7 million. Now we're going up to 9 million and 12 million. We'll be 12 million. We're doing 700 in the next 10 months, we're going to be crossing 7 trillion. Even the 7 trillion does not even cover what we're calling what is called contingent liabilities, guarantees and whatever. So it's debt management unit, as I said to you yesterday. Mozambique, they hid so much money. And they're doing it with donors, with the people who are giving the loans. Those called vulture financing. Yeah. Those people like Eurobond. You never heard of Eurobond. What happened to it? Vulture financing. Because these guys, we've financed our soul. So these vulture finance people have taken this expensive loans. When you look at it, we are now commercial loans abroad.
But let me ask, these loans we speak of, were some of them not taken before this particular CS came into office? Because he's only a year old.
Yes.
But we still hold him responsible.
But of course, that is the CS.
It is his docket.
Yeah, let's talk about the CS for a minute. We are talking about meritocracy. He's a very nice man, very humble man, very easily to contact. Yeah? But do remember that he's a politician. We were told by the president that we are going to have professionals. This is a failed politician. He was kicked out by his own voters. He was a governor.
But not being voted in, does it make you a failed politician?
No. Let's say that he did not make it. Okay. So, what will drive this gentleman to make sure that he's now going to concentrate on the country? Yeah? And he's a great man. I like him. I do like him. I'm just saying that meritocracy should start even with him. And he made us those promises.
Let me take your argument and say that because he seems to have not fulfilled certain promises that his office should fulfill. You suggested that he should be impeached.
Yes.
Should we also impeach members of your committee who have clearly failed to supervise people like him?
Including me.
Questions should be raised.
Yes, it should be raised. And say, listen, Shakil, my people should ask me. They should ask me, why are we putting the VAT up? Why are you doing that? Why did you do that?
Why do you have a new digital services tax?
That's right.
Turnover tax and all minimum tax.
Turnover tax. The turnover tax is going to kill our Juakali. It's going to kill us. Because there's nothing to stop the taxman. His job is going to do his job.
Yeah.
To walk to the Juakali and sit and see how many sundukus he's making, how many windows he's making, and estimate, okay, you're making 20 windows a day or 10 or 100 windows a month, which is about 400,000 shillings a month, so I'm going to give you a turnover tax of 1% of 400,000 payable in advance. Do you understand me?
Yep.
And they're going to harass that guy, and of course that is a corruption. Then they're going to corrupt this guy. They're going to say, the whole thing. Tax is not meant to be like this.
Mheshimiwa, let's switch the conversations a little bit and talk about food security, especially in a matter that affects your county as well, rice. Rice growers had a bumper harvest, and now they're sitting there with rice on their farms in their own domestic stores, and yet we're importing rice. And we want to have a conversation about that. What's happening? Why is that? But first, let's see what's happening on the roads at 4 minutes past 8 o'clock. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room, the situation in traffic coming up shortly, and then conversations with Dr. Timothy Njagi from Tegemeo Institute in Egerton University and Shakil Shabir, the MP for Kisumu East. Good morning.
Traffic.
Okay, so the Johnson service lane this morning is bumper to bumper. That's not moving out then towards Manyanja and then out also towards the city centre. Not happening, guys. It's moving very, very slowly. Thika Road also, the jam today. You have to have planned in advance. And this is because of that terrible accident we saw that happened right around Githurai this morning. And now we see the after effects of this, guys. It's multiple vehicles that overturned a few meters to Githurai, and so now traffic is in and outbound, guys. So it looks like a crazy morning as far as that is concerned. Coming off Mombasa Road, however, approaching the city centre, that's also quite slow. The Udhiru stage, guys cannot move there either. A lot of public service vehicles crowding things and not able to make through the traffic today. It looks crazy. Let's see what it looks like in a short while. But for now, remember, service lanes, bypasses, eastern and southern are your friends today. They're going to help out. Spice FMKE, that's how you can reach us on Twitter. Text 40127.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room.
It's Kenya's biggest conversation, broadcasting on Spice FM, KTN Home, online. And as we change into this conversation about rice and agri-business, this is Agri Talk. Let's hear today's proverb.
If you think you are too small to make a difference, you have never spent a night with a mosquito.
There we are.
You relate to that?
I relate to that, very much so. We see differences like Wangari Maathai said, the hummingbird. She was just taking that little drop. It makes a tremendous difference, yes? So when you're asking what we are doing about corruption, and these little things make a difference. I'll give you a very short story a little later on when you give me time.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. So, Agri-Talk, where we want to promote meaningful discourse on agriculture and food security in the country, we'll be having these conversations every weekday. So let's now bring in a conversation about rice. So there's a story that was in the Standard a couple of days ago, and it was also covered in another about the plight of rice farmers in Ahero. Ahero is in Kisumu County. It's a neighboring constituency from yours, Kisumu East, right? So these rice farmers, they are sitting there with stock of grain. They're unable to take it to the stores run by the Kenya National Trading Corporation. They are also unable to sell the rice because they have gotten word that the stores are full. And stores being full, you know what the stores being full in Kenya means? That there's no one who's going to buy. So now brokers are coming to the farms. They're the ones who are trying to buy this rice. If they were able to sell for 45 shillings a kilo of rice paddy, now brokers are coming and offering 30, 25 bob, 30 bob. So that's already a drop in how much they could have sold. And yet at the same time, as you look at all this overproduction of rice in that just one region, other regions of the country also that grow rice, at the same time we hear stories of importation of rice. Do we have a rice deficit in the country? Do we have a net rice deficit in the country? Are we able to meet our need? What is it that we need to do to increase our capacity on that? So some of the people who've been working on this include the Tegemea Institute. It's a research department within Egerton University. And Dr. Timothy Njagi joins us now. He is a development economist and research fellow at the Tegemea Institute of Agriculture Policy and Development of Egerton University. He's on the line. Dr. Njagi, good morning.
Good morning, Eric. Thank you for inviting us to the show.
Thank you very much. Welcome to the Situation Room.
Yeah, thank you. And we are happy to engage in this discussion about rice.
I think let's just start off, before we come into the plight of the farmers in Ahero and others, let's just ask ourselves, do we have a rice glut or a rice deficit in the country?
Well, Eric, we do have a big deficit in the country. We consume about 800,000 metric tons of rice per year, and we only manage to produce about just upwards of 100,000 tons. So in terms of percentages, we actually import about 90% of the rice that we consume in the country.
That's very high. So when then we see farmers growing the rice, and this rice is not taken up in the market immediately, why is the gap? What's the problem?
The key challenge has been the cost of production, and of course coupled with some few bad policies. We have two rice. Okay, for rice, let's characterize rice production. So majority of the rice that is grown in Kenya is grown under large-scale irrigation schemes. We have two key clusters. We have the central cluster, where mainly it's more irrigation scheme, and then we have the western cluster, where we have a number of irrigation schemes, including Ahero. Moya accounts for about 80% of the rice that we produce, and then the 20% is distributed across the other schemes. The key challenge has been the cost of production. In Ahero, the cost of production is about 30 shillings per kg of paddy. If you remember, last year we had a presidential directive that KNTC was to purchase rice from all rice farmers, including the central and the western clusters, and they paid a premium price. So that means that they paid a price that was above the market price. So given our high cost of production, this is a good relief for farmers, because it means that last year farmers were able to get a good profit. However, the plan was that government agencies were to buy now rice from KNTC. Previously, government agencies would buy rice from traders, and some of the ones that consume a lot of rice would be involved in importation. So the CS directed that all rice should be bought from KNTC by the government agencies. So when we hear that the KNTC stores are full, then it can only mean that the government agencies will not take off that rice. And I think KNTC needs to sell that rice to government agencies for them to continue buying rice from farmers.
Why?
Can
I ask you, why? What would be the reason why the rice would not be picked up? Because you're saying that you hit a problem there now where it's not picked up from the farmers. What would be the reason why that doesn't happen?
Of course, the key problem is the price. So remember that last year, for example, before the government intervened, the prices were very low. Both in Ahero, in Moya, we found that after the government intervention, the price was raised by about 20 to 30 shillings per kilo. So remember that this 20 shillings to 30 shillings per kilo is not reflective of the market prices. This is just a premium that the government is paying. So if you're a customer, for example, a customer like you and I would never buy rice from KNTC, because you are paying way above what the market is offering. And the premium that you're paying is not reflective of anything. It's not because the quality is better or anything. It's just because this was a policy that was set to give relief to farmers. So we find that even without that relief, one of the key challenges that rice farmers face has been the cheap rice that comes mainly from Asia. Asia, they have advanced in terms of rice production and they do a lot of volumes. So you find that they're able to produce and bring the rice here at much lower prices. So one of the best ways to help rice farmers is to improve the competitive edge or the competitiveness of rice farmers.
Is this being done, Dr.?
So, but it has bits and bits is being done. I think
tell us about the bits and pieces that are being done. What exactly is the government doing to make our farmers competitive?
So, one of the things is that we need to improve rice productivity. Given that most of the rice productivity, most of our rice is grown in irrigation, some of the key things that the government has tried to do, of course, we hope that it would have been done in a much faster pace, was, for example, to increase the area under irrigation. We know that we have a huge project in Moya that is supposed to help store water and improve irrigation efficiency. One of the key challenges that we have faced all along is that even under irrigation, we are still subject to the vagaries of weather, in the sense that you get water not being enough when you need it.
Dr. I want to halt your thinking for a moment. If the government was really, you are not a government spokesman, but I just want to bring this to the fore. Because you talk about rice coming from Asia. Japan also has a problem similar to ours. They also have rice farmers, and the production, the cost of producing their rice is very expensive. But the government protects the right, their rice farmers by putting in the sort of regulations that guarantee that their rice is given first consideration. Do we have such policies in the country? Do we protect our farmers? That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, so one of the best ways to protect our farmers is not, that's why I mentioned the issue about bad policy. So rather than buy at a premium price beyond what the market is offering, because that then what you may end up doing is you become the preferred market for the farmers, would be to lower their cost of production, right?
Yep.
So that if today they're facing a price of 35, how can we help farmers to produce at 20 shillings? So then they have a margin of 10 shillings. And then for us to effectively do that, then we need to look at what are the key cost components for rice. Most of our rice is produced, is not mechanized. And you see, rice is one of those commodities that can be 100% mechanized. The cost of importing mechanized equipment is high. We've had instances in some years where there's reiterated importing of agricultural mechanized inputs. But the problem is that they did not remove the waiver on the spare parts. So it's like somebody tells you, yes, you can buy a new tractor, but if you need spare parts, which you need to import, you have to pay the duty and the VAT.
Yeah.
So that discourages adoption of mechanization. So you tend now to continue using labor. Labor is becoming increasingly more expensive, partly fueled by the high cost of living, and also because of rural to urban migration. It means that you have less people now engaged in agriculture in the rural areas. And that, of course, means that you have to pay them more if you want them to come and provide service for you. So, in a way, the things that we are doing to try and lower the cost of production are not effective. So we need to understand, for example, if we give farmers today, because I know farmers in Kisumu, up to until a few years back, they were benefiting from like the NIAP program, which was giving seeds and fertilizer to farmers. But then that accounts for less than 10% of the cost of production. So you don't really affect that cost of production, because if labor is going to account for 80%, then we need to be thinking, how can we then help farmers selling technologies, because then now we can have meaningful impact in terms of reducing.
So essentially we are saying that what the government initiatives are next to nothing. The farmer isn't protected. There aren't policies that guarantee that rice production can be made competitive. So in essence, government policies, instead of protecting the farmer, is actually killing the rice industry.
Yeah, I wouldn't characterize like that. I would actually say that the government policies are not effective. They are not effective, and the reason they are not effective is also because that they're not driven by evidence. So you need to because if, for me, the clearest example I can give, if you go and subsidize a fertilizer, and yet fertilizer is accounting for a very small percentage in terms of the cost of production, you're actually not helping that farmer. Then, when it comes to trade, we've also not really protected our farmers in terms of getting some relief in the way we negotiate for trade agreements. So I can give you an example. Most of our rice comes from Pakistan, right? A few years back, I think this was under Kibaki's government. They did try to raise the tariff, but then Pakistan retaliated by raising the tariff for tea. And then we had to go back to the negotiating table. The key challenge we have right now is that most of that rice, especially the Pakistan rice, is usually adulterated. And the reason why I use the word adulterated, blending is okay, because blending means that you are able to tell the customer that I imported rice from Pakistan, I've given you 20% rice from Pakistan, 20% rice from Mahero, or 20% rice from Moya, so that the customer actually knows what is in the contents of that package. Adulteration is where now you come and you will sell off the Pakistan rice as either Moya rice or Ahero rice or something like that. So that means that you are denying the customer the value for what they're paying, and we don't have policies that kind of try to counteract that. So this is some behavior that continues to run in the market, and of course the people who tend to benefit will be people up in the value chain, not necessarily producers. But we do acknowledge that most of the rice that we produce in Kenya is good quality, is much better quality than the rice that we import from Asia. The key challenge is that consumers prefer the imported rice because of the cost. It's much cheaper than our rice.
So how can we have this conversation about, let's just assume that everything is taken care of, right? Cost of production is reduced so that it gives farmers an advantage. We're looking at cost of inputs for agricultural materials such as fertilizers, the creation of dams for storage of water and things like that, created and done in a way that the farmers are able to afford it. Let's also look at, protectionism then for farmers so that the product can be protected. Kenyans buy that first because of and the government also buffering so that it helps with the cost and how much then we're able to purchase. Let's say that all of that is done and then we have a market that is suitable. The cartels play a very major role in this in terms of making sure that the farmers are at a disadvantage. Is it possible to get rid of that? Because it's a reality for them. They are farming their product, they're harvesting their product, but then there's still those who are at the controls when it comes to how this product is then distributed in the market. Do you see this as a major problem, as I do?
Yeah, definitely. It is actually possible to strengthen farmers' participation in the market and have them, wither down the effect of imported rice. So remember, if you look at the current strategy, it's very ambitious. I think the plan is to grow rice production from just above 100,000 tons to about 800,000 metric tons by 2030. By 2030, I think that our projected consumption will be about 1.4 million tons.
So this is the government's plan?
Yes,
okay.
This is the government plan.
Right.
This is the National Rice Development Strategy.
Okay.
So, in essence, what we all know, and we've had a lot of support including from Japan through JICA, through the ticket process, where one of the key things, not just in Kenya but in the African region, they were trying to help African countries double rice production because rice actually is the most fast-growing cereal in terms of consumption. So if today we produce even 500,000 metric tons, all this will be consumed locally. So that means that we are importing less. Then we can start seeing what are these kind of policies that we need to put in place, first of all, to help our farmers become competitive. The first one I think that we need to do is we need to help farmers mechanize. The second thing we need to do, we need to make sure that we have a vibrant research, especially for rice research. As we develop the infrastructure for irrigation, we also need to make sure that it goes hand along with research so that we have the varieties that can, because with irrigation you can do several crops in a year. The biggest letdown for ourselves is that even when we have irrigation, we still have instances where farmers are doing one crop a year because there's not enough water to grow rice. So we need to find a way, can we store that water? Can we make sure that we have several cycles? And then can we make sure that we help farmers now, and this is now the research part comes in, to be able to focus on the pest and disease control. And then now try to help farmers come together in terms of association. We have good examples. Moya has been cited as one of best practice in Africa, and not just in Africa, actually, it's one of the best practice in the world. If you look at the cooperative in Moya, it's quite strong and quite vibrant. They have a very strong brand, which they've developed on their own. So this thing that people should not think that farmers cannot do it. Farmers, they themselves, they managed to, and this started from during liberalization, when they fought to come out of NIB, and they managed to organize themselves and manage their cooperative well. And it's still a good example of good management. It's growing. They are increasing in volumes of the rice that they are collecting from their members, and they're even now buying even from non-members. So it actually shows that we can actually compete. And for us, although yes, we know that the preference for the consumer at the end of the day will be to try and pay as little as possible for the commodity. But I think when it comes to importation, as long as we remain competitive and help our farmers remain competitive, even without putting non-tariff barriers, we'd find that we have a lot of market.
The market would prefer to go the Kenyan way, to consume the local product.
Exactly, because now when you, for example, when you visit Kisumu, you'll come back to Nairobi with rice from Ahero.
Yeah.
But this thing where now you're coming to Kisumu and you buy rice from Pakistan, you should try and move away from it.
Dr. Timothy Njagi is a development economist and research fellow with the Tegemeo Institute of Egerton University. We are talking about rice farming. This is AgriTalk, promoting meaningful conversations on agriculture and food security in the country. We also have in the studio the MP for Kisumu East, Shakil Shabir. He has a couple of questions and also input, because we also need to put you to task on this one, Mheshimiwa. What exactly is it that our National Assembly, our leadership is doing to protect and develop this market, the local production of rice in the country? 26 minutes after 8, we are live on KTN Home, on Spice FM and online. We'll be back shortly on this conversation.
Sugar and spice and everything nice, just the way you like it.
The Spice Drive.
Did you have a great day? I hope you did. I intend to make it better. From 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. I'm going to be taking you home nice and chill. Everyone is welcome aboard. The hashtag is Spice Drive, and of course Spice FMKE on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
The Spice Drive with Monique. The official soundtrack of getting you where you need to be. This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
All right, sunny conditions in Nairobi this morning. 15 degrees is what we're looking at. That'll be the low for today, highs of 27. And in Nyeri, 17 degrees, sunny conditions, highs of 25 and lows of 13. It'll hit a low of 14 in Nakuru, where it's partly sunny this morning at 18 degrees. We'll also see a low of 14 in Eldoret, where it's 10 degrees and mostly sunny right now, going to a high of 26. 28 will be the high in Kisumu, 18 degrees and partly sunny at the moment. It's sunny in Kakamega at 18, highs of 30 and lows of 14. It's also sunny in Mombasa, highs of 32 and lows of 25. Malindi experiencing light rain this morning, still till now in some parts, highs of 31 and lows of 25. And in Kampala, it's mostly sunny at 19, highs of 26 and lows of 18. We're having sunny conditions in Dar es Salaam at 27 degrees, highs of 32 and lows of 27. It's also sunny in Johannesburg at 16, highs of 27 and lows of 15. Lagos is mostly clear this morning at 25, highs of 33 and lows of 23. While in Kinshasa, the rain has stopped for now at 23 degrees. That'll be the low for today, going to highs of 32.
Spice FM.
Okay, where do you
Nyeri.
this morning? Outer Ring is jam-packed, moving very, very slowly. Thika Road, this is where the drama was this morning. The accident involving the trailer and the canter left the road in a bad state this morning as concerns traffic. It's moving very, very slowly. Wayaki Way from Nairobi School towards town, also bumper to bumper. Thika Road inbound, outbound, bumper to bumper, all the way from Allsops. Today, getting to the CBD is going to be quite the messy affair. So if you're in that direction, let's know what lies ahead. Guys, the eastern and southern bypasses can help a little bit. You might be in on the roads for longer, but you're not going to be stuck in this traffic. So let's try and use those, shall we? Mombasa Road as well. It's going to help if you use the southern bypass getting into the CBD. Uhuru Highway blocked, bumper to bumper, from Nyeri Stadium roundabout all the way through to Westlands. Keep us abreast of what's going on in your neck of the woods, won't you? Spice FMKE on Twitter. Text on 40127.
spice and everything nice. Everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4
Situation room. We are now discussing agriculture and food security. We call this Agri Talk. In the studio is Eric Latif, Nduoko, CT Muga, Honorable Shakil Shabir, the MP for Kisumu East, and joining us on the line is Timothy Njagi. He is a development economist and research fellow with the Tegemeo Institute at Egerton University. As we have the conversation, and I know, Mweshimo, you have a question for Timothy, let's just hear from Francis of Mwea, who also wants to contribute. Francis, good morning.
Morning, Latif. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Yeah, my name is Francis Baraka.
Yep.
The director of Baraka Rechmitas and Stores.
Mm-hmm.
I am a big fan of your show.
Karibu sana.
So I had you. I had you today. You're talking about rice, which is part of me since I grew up in Mwea. So the economist has raised the point of that we face a high cost of production for rice, and it's not even more about the input, but also the labor.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the attributes that makes even the labor to go high is because we pay for water to the government to provide us water through the National Irrigation Board.
Mm.
But now you see this water is scarce.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to go an extra cost to pay people to sleep at night, looking for water to be put into your farm and all that. So it brings the cost to go high. Every time it goes higher and higher and higher.
So there's a cost of labor and purchasing of water. Where do they get the water from, the people that you're paying?
So the water comes from the mountain, but now as the water flows, the National Irrigation Board has built some canals that pass through the irrigations.
Right.
So each and every farmer that owns a farm has to pay a certain fee every year.
Mm-hmm.
But you see, the water is scarce. So you have to go an extra cost to pay people to sleep at night, and to make sure that your farm it gets water.
It's basically to guard your water, to protect your water.
Not even to go look for water and bring it to your farm.
Okay.
You understand?
Mm.
So for me, what I can say, the thing that has made the rice so far to be vibrant is the private contribution that people have done as individuals.
Mm.
And one point is the mechanization that people have been able to bring on board, even through the government. The harvesters that we currently have helped to reduce the wastage during harvesting.
Mm-hmm.
So if we look at it, if we can be able to mechanize the entire process, the production will go up, and the cost can go down also.
Okay. Francis, tell us about the storage as well, because I got another comment here. Someone saying it's also the issue of storage. A big challenge, lack of storage, because farmers end up selling at low cost in order just to get rid of their produce.
So you look at the tradition. You look at the past. When we were farming rice in the 90s, the rice used to be stored at the National Irrigation Board. You need to go back with your rice to your home.
Mm.
So when the liberalization happened, now everyone could be able to go back with his rice to homes. We could even put up a rice mill like the one we have for Baraka Rice Millers and Stores. So the challenge that most these farmers have is that you cannot be able to keep this rice at home. Maybe because you don't have a good storage, the house and all that.
Mm.
So some end up putting it at our mills, because we offer a lot of mills offer storage.
Mm-hmm.
But now most of the farmers end up just selling it to people who now go store in for them, like now the brokers.
Okay.
Just to get rid of it, because you're not sure if you keep it at home, it's going to be secure or not.
Okay. Thank you very much for your insight, Francis. All the best in Mwea.
Thank you.
Asante sana. Still having a conversation, Dr. Timothy. You've heard the input from Francis, and just before you respond to that, also some input coming in from Mweshimiwa.
Yes, Dr.
Timothy.
Timothy. Firstly, I want to commend the quality of experts that we have in the agricultural sector. I've always been amazed at the sort of, we have great experts in the civil service and the agricultural sector, but we don't listen to them. And he's one such case. I want to also talk about the Meat Commission. Our Meat Commission, whatever, was taken to Botswana to make a success in Botswana, and yet we couldn't do it here. So firstly, I want to take my hat off to the experts. There was a time that we had agricultural extension officers.
Yep.
What happened? The issue of storage in Ahero, and I do appreciate you talking about mechanization, but Ahero, we are small whole farmers, and most of them are in the Namthoi, swampy, wetland areas. The problem that we have is that we are sabotaged and hijacked by cartels and sabotaged by our own government, Ministry of Agriculture, who's meant to be protecting us, sabotaged by our tax laws, sabotaged by our importation policies, sabotaged whether, you see, sugar, rice, maize, wheat, tea, all of these we are actually held at ransom. And there are people like Timothy who are doing a great job where they are and talking about how to talk long-term gain, research, etc. The question that the farmer wants to know now, if we in Kisumu we want to know now, is what are we going to do about our rice right now?
Yeah.
Our rice is better quality than the Chinese plastic rice. The Pakistani rice that is coming, the Pakistanis, and that's where my great-grandfather came from. When I go to Pakistan, they tell me about the Peshawari rice that is grown in Moa, in Kenya.
They know about the Moat rice.
That's right. This rice is better than some of the rice that is elsewhere. So what's happening is we are, as well as Moa has branded, my wife goes to the supermarket, she's only buying Moa rice. The Pakistani rice is now, as he's well said, and I don't know whether the civil servant is scared of his job, they're actually using the Moa brand and mixing all sorts of rubbish in there and selling it in Moa rice. So I think that is where now the competition bureau, the standards bureau, the trade and standards.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, everything you see, I heard that because we did something on our rice, we put a tax on the Pakistani rice coming in, the Pakistanis then went and reacted on the tea. We shouldn't, God's sake, 90% of our consumption is from abroad. If that is the case, why are we allowing this Pakistani rice, this rice from Southeast Asia, this Chinese rice coming in? I stay in Kisumu. Do you know that Chinese fish is cheaper in Kisumu from China than from the lake? Rice is cheaper. So my question to Timothy is this: Timothy, can you as an expert talk about short-term actions that the government needs to take, the Ministry of Finance needs to take, and the long-term actions that professionals like you and Edgerton College need to look at as what we call as research? So on the short term, what can you do about Ahero rice, for argument's sake? Can we go the way Moa is doing? What do we do? How should we be able to do we block the rice importation first until all local rice is taken? Mauritius does that. Actually, Mauritius has done an opposite. Their sugar is in such high quality that they import Kenya sugar to sell in the Mauritius market and take Mauritian sugar and export it. No, export it to Europe.
Other parts of the world.
As a Booker Tate White, those little things. So I think what we need to do here is we need to change our thing. And finally, our agricultural ministry was a great ministry. We have over time from the 70s and the 60s, where there's cooperatives and everything was working well, we have sold ourselves. down the line we have gone for short-term gains. We need to improve that particular thing and have silos. Where are the silos in Kisumu? There is no silo for rice in Kisumu, whereas the first silos were invented in Egypt. Do you understand me, sir?
Right up the lake.
Yes.
So, Timothy, respond to that. What is it that the government can do, short, medium, and long term?
What is we politicians can do? What is we MPs can do?
Yes.
That is what we want to hear from you.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa, and thank you to Francis too for the question. So, Eric, I think from my perspective, short-term solution number one. So last year, the government made a pronouncement, and I think the pronouncement had some ambiguities in it. When you want to purchase grain from farmers at a higher price, you need to prepare farmers, whether this is a 1-year thing or a 2-year thing or a 3-year thing, so that farmers know that from then they'll go back to the usual market. What we are seeing clearly now is probably a miscommunication to farmers, because they kind of made it like they'll be buying, the government through KNTC will be buying grain from farmers on an annual basis. And given that you're offering a much better price, the farmers cannot go to sell now to the market. They prefer to come to you. So the government clearly needs to open up. In terms of storage, I think even around Ahero, we also have the Lake Basin Development Authority, and we have some huge space there. So the government needs to take off this grain, because if they allow or leave it to farmers, then of course farmers will be running into huge losses. But then now it needs to be clear that you're going to do this for this year and next year, so that you prepare farmers to start now trying to be competitive, so that the farmers do not necessarily rack up their costs. They'll also be now knowing that, in 2022 or 2023, I'll be going to sell to the market, and I need to be competitive so that whatever market price I face, then I am able to remain in production. Then, now going to medium term and long term, the government, we know that especially in terms of storage can be an issue, especially where farmers, we're getting a lot of grain. Currently, Ahero production is a bit lower, but they still manage to get about 1.4 tons per acre, which is, for me, I think is reasonably okay. Mwea is much higher. They do around 2.5 to 3 tons per hectare. We have the warehouse receipting system. We need to actualize it so that farmers who worry about post-harvest storage and management can actually start benefiting from that. So one of the things that Mheshimiwa, you can do also is to lobby for the making sure that the act was already signed, the regulations is what is still pending. How can we fast track that process of the warehouse receipting system for it to start operations? For rice, we must also invest in irrigation. I think if we really want to enhance rice production, we can learn from other countries, especially Southeast Asia, who are more or less like us, that investment in irrigation goes a long way to improving production. So this has to be done, in partnership with the county government and the national government. And just to emphasize the point that Francis was trying to make, we know that yes, we need not just invest in irrigation, but make sure that the irrigation is efficient. What Francis was trying to, the point Francis was trying to bring out is that although they pay an annual irrigation fee, they still have to incur other costs pumping water because water is not enough. So the infrastructure has to be made that it's efficient, so that farmers get water when they need it, and also they get it in sufficient volumes. And hopefully we'll be able to see us doing more than one cycle, probably I think like the Moya Research Station has shown that you can do 2 or even 3 cycles in a year, and that would significantly increase our production. I think for trade, Mheshimiwa, you've mentioned it, that we need better policies for food trade, especially to deter the adulteration of rice. It's actually adulteration because you pass it off as something else, which is not. So can we look at the current laws and have even the Competition Authority, KEBS, and the Ministry of Agriculture working together to make sure that people declare if you're found to be adulterating rice, there is sufficient punishment that can create a deterrent. And this way, then people will be able. We have different product differentiation. If somebody wants cheap rice, they'll be buying Pakistani rice, knowing that it's actually Pakistani rice. You can try this, Eric. If you go to the supermarket, you'll only see Moya rice and probably Thailand rice. And Thailand rice is mainly the jasmine rice. But then, given that we're importing 90%, surely that cannot be Moya rice. So
I have a question for you, Dr. I want to stop you here because this irrigation thing it bothers me a little bit, especially hearing what Francis had said, and he talked about a lack of water. Right? A lack of water in a country where what has happened over the last 9 months is that we've seen flooding of gigantic proportions, and that water just went to waste. Isn't it about time we started looking at innovations through which we can harvest this water that is causing such rampant destruction and actually use it for good? Because here we are and we're saying one of the production problems of rice is not enough water. But not too far away from this area, in places like Budalangi, for example, is where we saw some monstrous flooding, and that water goes to waste. This year, there will be flooding again. We know that. There will be flooding again this year. There will be flooding next year. There will be flooding the year after that. Just because of the geographical patterns that we are aware of. We know this is going to happen. Shouldn't we be looking the innovation way now to be able to have that water then diverted and used for production? Because we've talked about irrigation, it's an issue. Water, we talked about storage, it's an issue.
All there.
Water, it's there. Can that not be where the attention then is diverted and focused?
But can I just jump in here? Mount Kenya, where? There are no lakes there.
Yep.
We are in Lake Victoria. Ahero is flooded. There's natural water.
Can it not be dammed and used?
It is already there. It comes into the fields.
So how are we saying,
without us doing anything?
Into the floodplain.
Sure, but then how are we saying that there is a shortage when it comes to water that's needed?
The question is, what is Moya doing right that we in Ahero over the last 50 years are doing wrong? Because Ahero has not been now. Ahero is nearly all my lifetime I've heard about rice from Ahero. What is Ahero doing wrong? I mean, I'm sorry, I'm concentrating Kisumu.
It's okay.
What are we doing wrong there? And I think Dr. Timothy needs to tell us what is happening in the Namtho area, what we are doing wrong, which is at this moment, as I speak, when you go over the plains, it's flooded.
And why can't that water? I keep asking, why can't
it is
that water?
In the rice fields. The rice fields are flooded. Because the rice fields are in those wetlands.
Sure, that's understandable. So but then we look at other parts where they're telling us that they don't have enough water.
So what is Moya doing right? Let's
what lessons
concentrate
can
on
be
the
taken from each side?
concentrate on that positive. One little positive. What is Moya doing right when they're getting water from the mountain, and how are they able to capture that? And how can we translate that across to them? And one question, Timothy, when you're talking about lobbying for the regulations of the Act, please tell me which Act you're talking about. So that is one thing that maybe we'll have a positive as a result of this. When I get back, I will try and follow up with the Agriculture Committee on that particular Act. And that's one of the biggest problems we have. The Act is done. The regulation and implementation by the executive is not done. So please tell us so that we can chase on that one.
Okay. Thank you. So, Mheshimiwa, the regulations are the warehouse receipt systems.
Warehouse?
The warehouse receipt system. Receipt systems. So we need this regulation finalized so that the Act can be implemented.
Please explain how that works, Dr.
So with the warehouse receipt system, when a farmer, for example, harvests a grain, so you'll be able to. So first of all, the warehouse will be. The warehouse have to be certified. So that means that the Act allows for private sector actors to be providing these services as well as the government. And the way it works is that I'm able to store my grain and pay a fee, which is usually like a commission, which will be determined. But then it also allows for you to ensure that grain is there, so that if the grain is spoiled, then the farmer is compensated when it's in storage. For certification, it means that the grains, it's not just a go down or a granary, it has to fit certain conditions. So for example, you must install moisture meters to make sure, because moisture is one of the the key things that affect grain during storage. Of course, and then make sure that the storage will be, proofed from pests. Importantly, is that apart from insurance, the receipts will allow farmer to hold them. It becomes a commodity. Once that warehouse receipt systems, and then we have the commodity exchange coming into place. I know that the act is still being discussed, the Commodity Exchange Act. Yes. No, it's a bill now. It's still a bill, a commodity exchange bill. So once that is in place, then the farmer will be able to trade in these receipts the same way we trade in stocks. So you don't have to, move actual grain, but you exchange receipts, and the receipt bearer can actually redeem from any certified warehouse that particular grain. But then that kind of formalizing the grain market will be very useful to promote trade, and also for farmers. One of the other leverages is that it allows them to get cheap access of credit, because you can actually now show how much store you are holding. Right now, it's very expensive for farmers to get credit, because one, you don't have the information asymmetry between lenders and the lendees. It's such that, for example, if it's formal loans, the banks or the microfinance, they don't know your ability to repay unless you have some non-farm work, and they can actually see that you've been maintaining an account and how much is passing through your account and something like that. But then for somebody who is just 100% doing farming, it's very difficult to demonstrate that. So it
requires the regulations. Have the regulations been drafted by the ministry? Have they been handed over to the National Assembly?
Yes, the regulations have been drafted.
I want to take this. You see, you brought up the Commodities Exchange Bill. And I saw it initially some time back, and it sort of faded away. There was also the futures, agricultural futures, that was linked into that. That is a positive that you have put, and I have taken that particular exercise to go and find out and come back to you, and even to you, Timothy, and see what we can do.
Thank you.
More important than that, when we are talking about short-term and long-term gains, etc., I want to point to you. You talked about agricultural mechanization. In certain countries like the UK, the USA, and etc., even diesel, there's agricultural diesel. They put a pink, you make the pink color to it. When we tried that in Kenya, it was shot down. But the paraffin issue went across. So, Timothy, are there other little things like this, what we call low-hanging fruit that we can work on, which will help you, the agricultural sector, especially rice, grain, to stabilize themselves, or to help the farmers?
Yeah, sure.
So what we'd like to hear is, what is a low-lying fruit that you might be able to identify and say to us, so that I can take it straight to the agriculture committee, because
one of them can even come from the finance committee. He talked about looking at the taxation.
That's right, yes.
Taxation. So there's taxation that has been waived on equipment, but no taxation has been waived on spare parts.
You know
right,
that,
Timothy?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a fact,
You know what happened there? I'll tell you, Timothy, because there was not enough lobbying from the agricultural side, and the lobbying came from the other side. They said, listen, if you allow tax exemption on spares for tractors, what is a tractor? Is that vehicle that pulls a trailer, also called a tractor in the American terms.
Yeah.
So they will start using that. And I said, no, this is semantics. English is not our level. Tractor, we mean agricultural tractor. We don't mean construction tractors. So I think these are the sort of things that earlier on we spoke about. The little gray areas we could have made a great difference, but somebody came and convinced us for other reasons to pass it the other way.
Yeah. And then I would also add that water storage, as City mentioned, is a necessary condition. We must store water. It doesn't make sense for us to be saying that we are doing irrigation and yet we are still tied to the cycle of when does the rain start, because we did not store it. So we have to wait for it to start raining so that we can start planting. we must store water. In Moya, I know the dam is almost, we are hoping that probably by next year the dam will be finalized and operational. On the western part, we need a dam for that serves either Hero or West Kano or even both. I think that would be
asking a politician to look for a dam is suicide.
No. I think what we need to do is to see how can we push, or as part of oversight, look at what NIB is doing, and also task it to work with the county government of Kisumu to see whether they can actually construct a dam, because it does flood mitigation, but then also ensures that you have water for farmers when they need, and then you're no longer tied to the rainfall patterns. So you'll be able to plan for production throughout the year, regardless of whether it's raining or not. So that we must do. I think for taxes, it's important. Unfortunately, our tax structure has been a disincentive for the ag sector. Because apart from, I had forgotten to mention this, apart from the tax that is imposed on inputs, you remember last year there was a lot of tax on, VAT was imposed on agrochemicals. So for rice, use of fungicide is important for disease control. One of the key diseases that affects rice is the rice blast, which can actually, in the worst years we've had, we've ended up with losses of 80% of the crop being lost because of blast. And you need to use fungicides to control for this. So when you levy tax on the fungicide, and yes, it's an important, it's a must use for a farmer. A farmer has no choice. Once your crop is affected, you must spray the fungicide. So when you're increasing the tax, you're not helping this farmer become competitive. So we must see how the government can work with the sector.
Right.
I do agree with Mheshimiwa that the Agriculture Ministry needs to improve and do much better when it comes to lobbying, especially the National Treasury, because it's basically a competition. And you must lobby for farmers to get the right
through and through. And these are conversations that we must keep having, and that's why we have this Agri Talk segment where we discuss matters of agriculture and food security. And for more on such kind of conversations, join Philip Keitani on KTN's Farmers TV every day between 4 p.m. and 5 p.m. That's KTN's Farmer TV, and this is Agri Talk. Thank you very much, Timothy, for joining us. Dr. Timothy Njagi is a development economist and research fellow at Tegemeo Institute of Egerton University.
Thank you, Leti.
Asante sana. So time for us also to say goodbye to our audience on KTN Home who've been with us from 7 to now, 5 minutes to 9. These conversations, however, continue on Spice FM, because for the next hour we'll be looking at what has happened in America. So now Americans have a new president, so what's the world doing about that? We've also been having a conversation with Shakil Shabir, the MP for Kisumu East.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
All right, so we still have our guest.
Spice up your life.
Kisumu East MP Shakil Shabir, looking at very many issues. So when I hear all those things that Timothy was saying, they're, in terms of protecting our farmers, in terms of putting in place measures that can then help us to reduce the cost of production, 100,000 metric tons against a demand of 800,000 metric tons. We have the capacity. We can actually grow our own rice. We can increase this. There's now a plan to get to that 800,000 in the next 10 years or 9 years or so. I see a nexus between what we were discussing earlier, Mheshimiwa, which is about Parliament being held captive by commercial interests.
That's correct.
And this also not just by external commercial interests, but by internal commercial interests, where members of Parliament are themselves traders. So you see this in sugar, we see this in tea. From wherever farm these MPs come from, they are playing a part. Those from tea growing areas, you find that they participate in the tea trade. So they want legislation to go a certain way so it benefits them commercially. How do we get ourselves out of this rut?
You see, let's talk about sugar for a minute. Sugar, just recently, they have given some sort of, I don't call it waiver, some sort of relief, because they're saying there's a shortage of sugar. They're given some sort of relief, and they said the 10 companies or so have been given this thing. Out of those, there are only 2 directors between the 10 companies. Those 10 companies were just formed less than a year ago. Now, who does this? You see, I have sat in the 13 years in Parliament. It's taught me a few things. They will come on a Thursday and bring under a special thing that under a special tax law that we need to change something in the miscellaneous thing hidden somewhere. And you pass the miscellaneous because it's Thursday, you want to go and whatever.
Right.
And it's passed. And it is saying that it's a tax waiver for all sugar for 1 week. Right? And these sugar barons have got their ships just outside the boundary. They bring them in, dump the sugar, before somebody else knows what's happened. Sugar is dumped, sugar is sold, and they're away. They've taken their profits, and then the tax comes back on. So this is the same sort of situation with the rice, the same sort of situation with the maize. Other countries have the same problems. The problem that we have in Africa as a whole is that we have been held as, these are slave markets, Sugar was only benefited because we had slave labor. Maize they brought here to Africa because they didn't want us to work with corn and wheat. Tea, they developed the tea and they took it. They would take raw tea from here to wherever, and then bring it back and serve it to us. Cashew nuts are grown here. They go to India. They are
roasted,
and they are brought back and sold to us, and we buy them on Kenya Airways. Do you understand me?
Yep.
I think
many issues. Let's have this conversation in the next hour. First, it's now 9 o'clock. Let's take a look at what's happening on the roads, traffic. We still have Mheshimiwa Shakil Shabir, the MP for Kisumu East, talking about the rot in Parliament and in our governance systems. And we'd like to invite you also to participate in this conversation now. 0719 012 600. That's 0719 012 600.
Spice up your life. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, so they're trying to sort out that issue that was taking place on Thika Road earlier and move that accident scene, the vehicles from that, because it was quite the mashup this morning. However, the traffic still continues in and outbound on Thika Road, right around Githurai, and it's affecting traffic all the way down to the Utali Drift in that direction and out towards the Pangani underpass. Getting out of there, you can then use Wangari Maathai Road and try to get into the CBD, because even at Pangani, because of at Ngara, the demolition that's happening with some stalls is also going to stall traffic a little bit more, guys. So this one, Thika Road all the way to the CBD this morning, not looking good. Go the other way if you can. Coming out of Westlands as well, there is some traffic down through past Nairobi School, and that's taking some time to get out of there also. Mombasa Road as well, between the Gateway Mall and General Motors, very, very slow this morning. It looks like it's that Thursday. Hopefully we can get out of it without too much of a sweat. Talk to us through the day, however. Spice FMKE on Twitter. Text on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day.
3.5 minutes after 9. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. So in addition to the three of us, we also have Shakil Shabir, the MP for Kisumu East. CT, today's proverb.
If you think you are too small to make a difference, you have never spent a night with a mosquito.
If you think you're too small to make a difference, you've never spent a night with a mosquito.
Clearly.
Bas, this is the truth. It's the truth. So, Mheshimiwa, going on to this conversation, and we are asking our audience to join in 0719-012-600. There's rot in the executive, there's rot in the legislature. We've talked about corruption in the judiciary for a while. So, let's focus on the legislature for today, where we see decisions that are made not in the best interest of the people, but sometimes in the best interest of the of some people, of commercial actors, or in some cases, the best interest of those who hold a political office in the executive, because they want a certain decision to go a certain way. So, like you said, an amendment bill is brought late in the day, late in the afternoon, on a Thursday, and you're asked to amend so that you can allow importation of sugar. And this is just for the benefit of some sugar barons who are waiting somewhere to just bring in the sugar, dump in the sugar, make a profit, and then we reverse to the old taxation. This is not just one case. There are many cases such as this one. If you talk about now what the researcher was telling us, Dr. Timothy Njagi, what is happening in the agriculture sector, they research all these things, rice and what is required to just make sure that a farmer can get the benefit out of this. Some of these things are things that can be done very easily, but they just end up not happening. It takes so long for regulations on the warehouse receipt system to go through Parliament. There's a committee on delegated legislation that looks at regulations. There's a House Business Committee that looks at what is important, sets it as an agenda. Why would it take so long? It's just mind-boggling.
It is mind-boggling, but it's a good thing we have Mheshimiwa with us here. And he has actually put a very lively spotlight on some of these issues that we have discussed at great length here. But the thing that concerns me, yes, we can bring the argument down to human nature, but I would like to look at a different argument, because this thing plays in my mind and we discuss it all the time. The standards by which we judge politicians, the moral judgment we cast on politicians, should that be the standard that we actually use? And I'll tell you the premise that
so we should have a different weighing scale.
A lower standard?
Yes, no, not lower, not higher, just a different scale. There is a British historian in the 20th century, in one of his essays, it's called A.J. Taylor. This is what he had to say on this subject. He said that perhaps politicians should be judged purely on their political skills and on their ability to achieve their political goals, and not on their personal morality.
You see, not on the personal morality.
No, leave personal morality
because
aside.
That is already a qualification for being a politician.
Yes, you have no moral standards.
Low morality.
No, none. Yeah. So remember, when they say all is fair in love and in war, okay? And that all these things with politicians, there's no right and wrong. Okay, there are no permanent enemies. You know, all these terms refer to politicians.
Yeah.
So where is the space where morality comes in? So leave the morality equation out of the discussion altogether. Ask yourself, is this a good or bad politician? Is this a successful politician? Like our colleague here this morning would qualify. 3-term MP.
And 1-term independent.
Yes, and 1-term independent.
Independent.
Against the background of a region
zone
that is predominantly ODM.
You see, I want to take that.
Yes.
Let's start on the positive. Yeah, on the positive element here, and let's use myself as an example. I have others. I don't want to take others because they might be upset about it. Here, if you see my color, if you see my background, other than what's inside here, I'm more Luo than you might be.
Yeah.
But do you understand? No. Do you understand that in Luo Nyanza, in Kisumu, which is the heartland of Luo land, Kondele, which is the heartland of all this, which is my constituency, they said the Luos they're not tolerant of people. They're not tolerant among their own clans. Here they have voted me 2 times as mayor and 3 times as a member of parliament. And one time, because ODM withdrew, didn't give me my certificate as an independent. What is the positive that you're learning from here? The positive is the people of Kisumu East and Nyanza as a whole, I hope, are no longer captive to an ideal that is a cake. They want to see meritocracy, perhaps. They want to see a change. I mean, I'm there as an example. The late Jerry Rawlings said this to me. And he said to me, Shakil, your pass mark must be 95% because you're not. They've left their own brothers, sisters, mothers, etc. And that's the sort of thing we want to say. So that's firstly, meritocracy is necessary. Of course, the politicians are not known to keep their words, no matter who they are. And I'm probably one of them. But the fact of the issue is somewhere along the line, there must be some sort of integrity.
There's some consistency.
Consistency.
Yes.
Integrity must be in the soul. It's governed by the way you are. Somebody said, good manners are taught to you by a mother. Now,
That
you
was,
must.
Sifuna.
Yes. So if there are certain values that you want to adhere to into national interest rather than public interest, you must do that. I want to share this one thought with you. When I became the mayor of Kisumu, I just came from a bank. And I was paying good money, but I just came from a bank. And I went into the city hall and it was atrocious. I mean, the smell of bats, etc. The first thing I did, I looked at a flag which was torn. And how much is the flag? 250 bob. Go and buy it. Here, take it out. Go and buy it.
And this is just the county flag.
That is just me. Just me.
The municipal flag.
Now we are going down the road, if you know Kisumu, and there is no right turn at the end of City Hall. You turn left. My driver turned right. And I said to him, what are you doing, my brother? He said, but you're the father of the city. I said, exactly. Turn left. Do you understand me? So that is what is the moral standards. If we release that moral standard, if the CS is going down the road, President, I will allow. The CS is going down the road
using
and
the
they're
wrong side
overlapping.
of the road and overlapping.
Not only CSs, now there are PSs, there are even drivers of
No,
PSs.
now we have MPs with strobe lights in their vehicles. So you have this huge, gigantic motor vehicle, and then you've put some strobe lights there on the grill,
and
they're
they
constantly
use
on.
this thing to point at somebody.
Strobe lights are those disco lights.
Those disco lights, blue and red,
Yes.
flashing at you, and you're wondering. So this one, surely you are not a police vehicle, clearly. And then you see a Mweshimua sitting there with 4 phones at the back, and you're wondering. So
you see, I'm saying integrity is what you do when you're not seen. Integrity. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm great, but I mean the other day, I was with Alfred Mutua somewhere, and he was telling, he's a great man. He has great visions, and he was saying, if I travel business class, because I'm the chief executive of whatever, they shouldn't. It's something I will do. I have no problem. I said to him, you know something? I travel economy. And I want to say this to you guys. Not 4 weeks ago, maybe 3 months or 2 months ago, when the president came to Kisumu, I was seeing him off at the airport. And my driver said, the British High Commissioner has just got in. Huh? And because Kenya and we're Kisumu, UK, we call UK and we think the British High Commissioner is ours. So I followed the British High Commissioner into going past the security. They know me. So we made toot. I said, oh, please let me go. Yes? And I passed a lady. She was taking her shoes off and everything. I went past. I was looking. Where's the British High Commissioner? There was a guy saying, oh, you just passed her. I said, where?
The lady taking off her shoes.
Yes. She took off her shoes, she put everything inside, and I came back.
Going through the security
Had you
check.
taken off your shoes?
No, that's what I'm telling you.
He told them, I'm a Mweshmua.
No, I said, I went toot, you know, with all my thing. No. Do you understand me? That's Kisumu. That's Kisumu.
Yeah.
So I would have done it here, but Kisumu we don't. So, and that's also being spoiled. That's right.
That is the point I was getting at.
it.
The impunity of leadership.
Yes, okay. So the example was I went there and I got, Your Excellency, you can't do this. We want to take her to VIP. She sort of came slowly and passed her through the second chair and we sat down. And she said, I haven't checked in. So I said, please, my bodyguard will go and check you in. And he came back and he says, Mishmua, I think you talked to the Kenya Airways to upgrade her because she's business, it's economy. And she heard me. And she said, no way, this is against our policy.
Right.
You know, I take my hat off to that lady.
Right.
Now, if our MCA, not talking about an MCA, former MCA, would he do that?
No.
That is integrity of what you're not seen. I mean, I want to highlight that. I have seen many other cases, and that is what I want to try and do myself.
So and that is what Chapter 6 actually had in mind. You know, such kind of things. Are you a person with personal integrity?
Exactly.
Do you have that integrity yourself? When you talk about leadership and integrity, that is the integrity bit, that's it. You're able then to demonstrate your leadership.
I was on the Constitution Committee.
Yes.
From 1997, my wife was on the other side, I was on the other side. But I spent time writing the Constitution. I was there. And I remember Chapter 6. And I remember certain others. Chapter 6 was meant to be one of the best chapters in the world.
And then it came to Parliament.
Then we came to Parliament. This is why I was saying 5 or 6 of us were stopping every little small thing. And we were being outvoted, but people saw. So I think what we as a parliamentarian, when you're asking us, we are the conscience of the people. We are the integrity of Parliament is the integrity of the people.
Actually, Mheshimiwa,
yes.
I think to be correct on that matter, you
should be.
No, you were.
Briefly. Past tense.
Yes. Past tense, briefly. What you are now is none of those things. It is a hope that you could be. It is an expectation that you should be. But you are not. In fact, if anything, our parliament is a paragon of vices. If you're looking for anything that Kenyans like referring to as bad behavior, just look at our parliament and their behavior.
Not all of us.
Unfortunately, you're well represented. That's the whole
That's
point.
right. You see, there's what we call the good, bad, and the ugly. I hope you may have seen the movie.
Seen the movie.
You may not have seen it.
She has watched it.
No, she's much younger, but still. You know, I was talking about this, the good, bad, the image. The image of what you want to. We've all got the good, bad, and the ugly in us. All of us have.
Yep.
I mean, I shared with you the story of me talking to the British Parliament and them saying, hey, you really do that. I've got my card. You really do that. I said, yes, I do. And it was a big issue. But you see integrity there. The leader of, I think, was it opposite? The leader, the majority leader or something, came late or something. It was to question a minister. He came late. He resigned in the Parliament.
They have institutionalized morality.
Institutionalized morality. That's what happens in America.
It's a tradition, and everyone knows. You do this, you miss this step, you resign.
Yes.
If there's even a suggestion, if there's even a suggestion that something has gone wrong, there is a suggestion. It's not been proved. They've not even started investigating. They've not even asked questions. Somebody somewhere said something. Somebody resigns.
You don't even step aside. You resign.
You resign completely. You go home and you say, I don't even want the stain.
That was Chapter 6.
I don't even want the stain.
That was the intention of Chapter 6 until judiciary and legislature and executive bumped in. That was it. If there is a stain, you will resign and step aside. You know, my friend, he said, I would rather die than resign. But he did have to go because he didn't resign. His people kicked him out. So what I'm trying to say is this. We have gone to that situation and we must get out of it. And the president has the ability. You know, sometimes somebody has the capacity and the ability. Whether he has now also been taken hostage by others, I don't know. But, you know, the situation is, fire those guys.
Yep.
Fire them. Why don't you fire them? If there's a hint, fire the person or say step aside. We don't do that because there's no morality, there is no ethics. Our chapter 6 has gone to the dogs, so we're taking advantage of it.
So, all those things that we are saying, if everybody who's listening is like, yeah, I mean, we know these are our parliamentarians are. How do we correct this? Or is there any desire to correct this? Because someone was saying, if you can elect corrupt politicians and expect them to be, doled with integrity in their work, you are being fallacious.
You see, I think,
and if we are electing these people, if we elect our leaders and we don't have those high expectations of them, that's why somebody can go in there. It's because they know they nothing is going to be done to them. When an MP comes out and says, I received 100,000, I mean, surely. Mheshimiwa Aluke is on video saying he saw people being given. He was asked, did you take? It was just 100 I took.
And it's okay.
And when somebody goes to say something like that in public, it's because they know nothing is going to be done to them. Even your constituents are not going to look at you and think, you took money, we cannot vote for you.
In fact, the odd thing was if you didn't take, you'd be asked, why didn't you take?
You're an idiot because you're Fred Kubai.
Right now, all these things that you're telling us, I bet you very many members, not just members of parliament, but very many people in the public do not believe what you're saying. You didn't take money.
Actually, I've already had a missed call from an MP asking me what I'm doing here.
What is it? What's wrong?
You see, what I'm trying to tell you is this.
Yep.
We need to break the chain of corruption. We need to break it. Whether we break it in parliament, we break it in on the ballot, we break it on the road. You see, there's what we call, grand corruption. That we call minor corruption. We spend so much time on that little policeman sometimes, and the grand corruption is taking everything. So we are talking about grand corruption. We are talking about what happened. Why is suddenly the PEP scandal now forgotten about? The problem, Kenya is a very rich country. We go through all these scandals and we still survive. I think the best thing is in corruption, the color of the cat doesn't matter. It is the cat that we need to deal with. Its color, whether it's black, white, or blue, doesn't matter.
Mheshimiwa, I want to ask you a personal question. Would you consider vying for the post of governor of Kisumu?
No,
Why?
Absolutely not.
Why?
I've said so clearly.
Yes.
Because it's a political thing. And one thing I must recognize.
But you are a politician, Mheshimiwa.
Exactly. But you see me. I'm not. I have been given everything by the Luo community. Everything. More than any politician has been given. I must remember what is my ceiling. My ceiling is not the governor.
You're setting your own ceiling.
I've set the ceiling. I was the mayor of the city. And I did the same work that the governor is doing right now. I have my records. I have my attainments. I know what we have done. If you go to Kisumu city, you see that park. That is me from the beginning to the end. But we don't brag about these things. So what we're trying to suggest is that everybody takes the baton and runs. I shall not, I will not, and I do not wish to be the mayor, the governor.
Why were you asking him that question, City?
The reason why I'm asking him is, I'm looking at the history of politicians in Luo Nyanza, and I'm asking myself, a politician who has had 3 terms, and I'm having difficulties coming up with 1. 2 terms I can mention.
There's myself on Alago.
Yes. Okay? That's what I'm saying, I'm having difficulties. Now, someone who is that popular in his backyard, that person can easily, in my opinion, from political perspective, spread that popularity to a larger area. Because there's a reason why he keeps being voted in. Because it's not as though he goes in unopposed. No, they're opposed. And there are many people who want that same job.
Maybe you can set the example by going there and asking the people, give me the opportunity to run the affairs in the executive of Kisumu.
You see why I asked that
I've
question?
been actually, with the due respect.
As mayor, yes.
Have they told me? No. With due respect, after the first 212, many called me and told me we want you to be governor at that time because you've been through the constitution.
Yeah.
I said, no, I do not wish to be. The elders of my constituency called me and said, Shakil, We are the ones who gave you the membership, gave you
the MPship.
MPship. When we want you to go, we will tell you. We don't want you to go right now. So I thought the situation is that. So but let's. So
it's the reality of the politics on the ground.
Yeah, no, but I'm known in all the constituency. But the most important thing is you must know your limit. Yes, and my limit and the way I would like to do things is to do something for Kisumu as a whole, Kisumu County as a whole. So going away from what I'm trying to suggest here is I think there are not only me, there are many others who can make a difference. Many others.
Do you, and I'm going to, just reading something that I said by someone called an author, Octavia Butler, and she said, choose your leaders with wisdom and forethought. To be led by a coward is to be controlled by all that the coward fears. To be led by a fool is to be led by the opportunists who control the fool. To be led by a thief is to offer up your most precious treasures to be stolen. To be led by a liar is to ask to be told lies. To be led by a tyrant is to sell yourself and those you love into slavery. Do you sit back sometimes and wonder why Kenyans continue to choose the leaders that they choose with all of this nonsense that we see being put on the table before us?
Sometimes I do, but you know when I'm sitting there and I'm looking at my own case, I'm looking at the case of a friend of mine who was a former Minister of Finance, Kimunya. Kimunya was shot down in his own constituency. He learnt his lesson and he's now back and he's making a difference. On my own case, I think that lady, that woman in my constituency, the uneducated old man in my constituency, he is making a different decision. He's saying, I want a leader that can make a difference. I want a leader who knows what I need. Yes? So rather than I'll take 50 bob from this guy and vote for him, or 100 bob from this guy and vote for him. There was, in 2007, there was a word called Gonya. You may not understand it, but you understand.
They all do.
You know Gonya.
Set me free.
Set me free. Now Gonya became such a popular word in Kisumu, it was not true. I couldn't go anywhere without hearing the word Gonya. You know, if you ask me how much I spent for my election, you might be shocked. Not more than 5 million shillings, including everything else.
Compared to?
20, 30 million.
Right.
So you see, when I'm spending 30 million shillings, I want my money back. One of the problems with MPs and my leaders is, and executive, why should a member of parliament go and sit in the office of the chief executive of a parastatal for a tender? Why? Should he be going to the finance ministry? Why should he be going to the Ministry of Education? What is the executive doing? What's the CS doing? Instead of facilitating Saidia Mishimiwa, they should be blacklisting that particular tender.
Yep.
Yes? No. It says in the procurement, there should be no lobbying for a tender. Yet, we are fighting to change the procurement bill. You know, we were improving the procurement bill to go forward as part of APNEC. And we are finding the changes that are now being proposed are taking us 2 steps back. But we are not lost.
Because of commercial interest.
Commercial interest. Then there is the other issue. As an MP, I'm meant to sign my wealth declaration. Do you know what my wealth is? You don't. Because I sign it, I put it in an envelope, and I give it to...
It's hidden.
Hidden. I could have written it on toilet paper. I could have written anything I wanted. Nobody knows. Only the speaker has it. And when the anti-corruption wants it, it will be given.
Get it, yeah.
The anti-corruption comes and tells you that this MP hasn't even got an education degree. He is even, the person who is giving him that degree has said that this is fraudulent. Yet the IEBC is approving that guy for the vote to stand.
I mean, I know Eric is looking because we want to go to a break, but look, in about a year ago, someone said to us, she said, you know what, the only way we're going to get these problems solved is to get rid of everybody. Ground zero, start from scratch and get those people in. Again, like what Octavia Butler said in this thing here, that choose your leaders with wisdom and forethought. It would mean that you raise it to the ground and then Pick leaders who you know, or at least you have conviction that they're actually going to do their job. Because look, what are we talking about here? I mean, it's almost laughable.
But
okay, it's so
points.
painful that it's laughable.
There's 2 points.
That there's
yes.
so much nonsense going on, and we're seeing here where we have a country that's running well and everything is okay. Yesterday we were told that don't worry, everything is okay.
But
we're
2
getting
points.
better.
No, it isn't. And I suppose it's his job to tell you that. But 2 points. One, we look at South Korea, we look at Singapore, we look at Malaysia, and we say these economies are doing well because they had Lee Kuan Yew and there's other people. When you look at that area, and I want to give you this particular example. I went to Singapore with MCAs, and I've been even with members of parliament. No cigarette smoking on the street, no chewing up. We are big people, we're not smaller. They were arrested. They were arrested.
In Singapore, you can't even spit.
Doesn't even matter whether you're the Prime Minister of Singapore, you will be arrested, my brother.
Yep.
Here, there is no such thing. You are not arrested.
You're given a through pass.
Yes. You're actually given a blue pass. That is what's happening. There is no punishment for, and there is nothing. Now, don't want to call it punishment. There is nothing. So the guy will say, so what? Utadu?
Yeah.
I'm an
impunity.
Impunity of the extreme. And that's where I say the president. President, you've got everything God has given you. Wealth, you have a name, you have a position, you can keep yourself in the world. I was in England. I heard the president was around. I was in England. I went to this hotel and I missed him. But there was another Mzungu lady standing there, an old couple. And she said, you from Kenya? I said, yes, because I had my badge. I was going in the lift. And there was this VIP with a lot of bodyguards coming. And I was to go in and they were stopping me. And the guy said, no, let them go. That was Uhuru Kenyatta. It's a fact. Those people said, this guy is a gentleman. But then what's happening here? Can you please, Uhuru Kenyatta, my brother, my friend, I've known you for some time. We have talked to you about corruption. Now let the people pay. You told me even your sister, even your family, but nothing is happening. It happens, something must happen.
Indeed. Let's take a break at this point, 9:30, see what's happening on the roads and also look at the weather. And then we continue our conversation with Shakil Shabir, the MP for Kisumu East. We have had many conversations this morning. We've talked about food security, the issue of rice and rice growing areas. We know there's a rice growing area in Central. We know also the Western clusters, the problems that the farmers are facing there. And when we come back, we'll be speaking with your colleague in the National Assembly, the MP for Mwea constituency, Dr. Kabinga Wachira, on the issue of rice. Keep it right here. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
On Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
The Spice Drive with Monique, the official soundtrack of getting you where you need to be.
Nairobi, still sunny this morning, 17 degrees. We'll see highs of 28 today. We'll see highs of 25 in Nyeri, sunny conditions at 19, partly sunny conditions in Nakuru at 20, going to highs of 27. The 24 will be the number in Eldoret today for highs. Currently sunny conditions. It's also sunny in Kisumu at 20, going to highs of 28 today and lows of 19. It's going to get quite warm in Kakamega. 30 is the high. Partly sunny conditions at the moment at 20. Mombasa is going to go to a high of 32 today, mostly cloudy at 26. 31 in Malindi. That will be the high. Still raining in some parts of town. Highs of 31. 26 the high in Kampala today. 19 degrees and mostly cloudy at the moment. 27 degrees in Dar es Salaam. We'll see highs of 32 and lows of 26. It's sunny in Johannesburg at 18 degrees, going to highs of 27 and lows of 15. 33 will be the high in Lagos. It's cloudy now at 24. It's also cloudy at 24 in Kinshasa. 32 the high and lows of 23. Let's look out east. We're in Beijing. Slightly warmer at 5 degrees. Sunny conditions. We'll see highs of 6 and lows of -8. Clear skies in Paris, quite windy, however, at 6, going to highs of 11. And in London, it's clear at 5, going to highs of 9 and lows of 5. And now roundabout in morning, Thursday, New York, -2, clear conditions, going to highs of 6 and lows of 1.
Spice FM, Malindi.
All right, at the Muthaiga Square off of Thika Road, it's still bumper to bumper. There's a lot of traffic coming in from Kiambu Road and then on from the other side of Thika Road. Still today, very, very slow, guys. Getting out. Then we see the demolitions that are taking place right at Ngara, and that also compounds traffic today. So I'm sorry if you're in this area, but it's just going to need some patience. Let us know what else you see. Outer Ring is still very messy. Folks talking of a bridge needed at Taj Mahal Junction. Trying to get in and out of there is a mess. Mombasa Road still moving a bit slow, but a little bit better. So even though we're out of traffic hour, we're still right in the thick of things. Let's see how that unfolds during the day. If you get stuck somewhere, or if you find a route that nobody knows about just yet, let us know. Spice FM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4
continues with Eric Latif, Nduo Kos, CT Muga, Honorable Shakil Shabir, the MP for Kisumu East, and now joining us on the line is Honorable Dr. Kabinga Wachira, the MP for Mwea constituency. Good morning, Mheshimiwa.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Welcome to the Situation Room.
Thank you.
I'm sure you heard the conversation that we're having about rice and rice growing, the plight of rice farmers, the market and all, from Dr. Timothy Njagi of Tegemeo Institute, and a number of things that he said that need to have happened by now, or that could still be done, especially by the Parliament and by the Executive. What do you have to say about that?
Now, let me first and foremost confess that I was on another assignment from Monday morning, so I've not been able to do the follow-up.
Right.
But I joined in when actually he was finishing.
Right.
So I don't know what are some of the areas that he highlighted, but it is true that we have a number of challenges in the rice industry. And this is historical, in a place like Mwea, rice farming started all the way from 1958. And when it started in 1958, it never started as a commercial venture. It really started as something to keep the then people who are in jail to be kept busy. So they are the ones who dug the trenches in Mwea, for example, and they are the people who are engaged in rice farming. So it was more of keeping them busy than a commercial venture. And this over time has evolved from what it was to what it is now and to what we want it to be. We in this country can be able actually to feed ourselves as far as rice is concerned. There are vast number of acres in Bura, in Ahero, in many other places. In Mwea, for example, we produce a lot of rice. So it's a question of concentration, and once we have the concentration from the government, and I'm seeing a lot of that coming in, we should be able. Right now, I think we are at 30%. In as far as meeting the demand for rice in this country is concerned. The effort by the government, including the Diva Dam, which is a 20 billion project that is going on, once finished, we should see these rising to about 50%. And so, yes, we are seeing some improvement. There is a lot more to be done on the side of Parliament, and this is something that we are doing. We are caucusing as members of Parliament from rice-growing areas, so that we can start looking at the laws and what really needs to be done so that we can improve rice production as well as improve the incomes of farmers, because production is one thing, getting something to the farmers' pockets is another, and that has been a major problem. So there are some steps that we want to undertake. In Mwea, for example, we were being guided by a colonial rule, Cap 347, which was used to manage farming and farms in Mwea. That Cap 347, we did repeat it and replaced it with the Lies Irrigation Act 2018. So at least now we have one step forward as far as Parliament is concerned. The next step that we are doing is what I've just told you. We are caucusing and identifying one another. I've been reaching out to most of these MPs, and I believe the first thing that we do once we meet is now to have a meeting with an intention of really looking at the law that is now we've seen reforms in coffee, we've seen reforms in tea, and we want to do the same in as far as lice is concerned. Come up with a lice bill if we are able, and we have been talking to the government on this. A lice bill that will enable us to not only have rules that are going to help us in the management of rice farming, but also have a fund that can cushion farmers whenever there is a problem in as far as the market is concerned.
Mheshimiwa, thank you very much for raising our hopes in this regard. But let me ask the question. Everything that you've said sounds wonderful, but how long do you think it will take before the fruits of what you're hoping to see actually come into reality?
This is what I've just said, that before we went into recess and after the repealing of Cap 347, these things we couldn't do them simultaneously, although we couldn't do them at the same time. Remember, lice farms in a place like Mwea are still owned by the National Irrigation Board. Farmers do not have even a document that they can go into a formal financial sector to get money. They are still borrowing from Shyrox, if you like. And these are some of the things that are really, really disturbing us in that industry. And this is why I've said that we have, for me, I have a four-prong approach to the whole thing. First was to repeal that Cap 347. Second one is try to push for the lice bill. Third is to try and implement what we passed in Parliament, what we call warehousing receipt. I hope you are familiar with it. Warehousing receipt is what we enable farmers now once they harvest. Because another challenge they have is most of the farmers, when they harvest, if they get their 50 bags or 20 bags, they have no storage in their homes. So they end up in selling to brokers at throwaway prices. With warehousing receipt, now they'll be able to now take their merchandise to those warehouses, get a receipt formal, they can go to a bank, get some money, small money, awaiting prices to improve or awaiting for their merchandise to sell. That would be a major achievement.
That also, we discussed it actually, Mheshimiwa, and what we understand what is missing to operationalize this law is the regulations. Regulations also go through Parliament. How far are they, as far as you know?
That is a very, very good. In fact, that is an area where we know we are doing not so well. Regulations like even for the irrigation bill 2018, they are yet to be brought to Parliament. You know, regulations are normally initiated by the ministry. So the ministry would do the regulations. Once they do the regulations, they would come to the House Committee on
delegated legislation.
Delegated legislation. They would discuss it before they bring it to the House. Some of us are able to intervene even before they are finished with it by the delegation.
Actually, Dr. Njagi told us that he knows that the ministry has already published those regulations, so they are in Parliament.
I can tell you, if they came to Parliament, they came just before we were leaving. That one I can assure you. I'm one person who is very keen on that.
Okay.
I chase on these things every minute. So if they did, then it was the last few days of our going to recess. And it is good if they are there. I hope they have also brought the warehousing receipt regulations because we are really looking forward to seeing them.
Yeah.
Those two things are part of my plan. The final one is on research. In many of the places where we are growing lice, the research is still wanting. And much of the seeds that we are using are probably being carried over all the way from the time we started lice farming. In Mwea, for example, we are touted to be having the best lice probably in Africa. But is that best lice in Africa interpreting into money into people's pockets? This is what we are now, that is going to be our final step in research. We have a facility which we call Mwea Irrigation an agricultural development facility called Nyeri, where they occupy about 300 acres in Mwea. We want them to start showing us, what they are doing and, getting value out of it as my fourth step. So there are those 4 steps which I believe, and I think there's a lot of, after a lot of research from my own, to look at the problems that are really killing this industry. Take, for example, when the government came in and gave 600 million to support the rice industry. This was supposed to have a revolving fund that will enable KNTC, Kenya National Trading Corporation, to buy rice from farmers in both Kano Plains and Mwea and sell to government institutions. Because of the high quality of our rice, this money came, but very little of it was actually spent in Mwea because of the high prices. They go to prisons, for example, they give the prices that Mwea rice is costing. They say, no, that is very high compared to what we've been doing. Some of them have been buying from Pakistan, imported rice. So when they compare that price, they find it, ours is high. Much of this money actually went to Ahero, because in Ahero, they have this Chindano rice. So much of it went there, but unfortunately, I'm told that even Ahero could not meet the demand. And therefore, there is a possibility.
But when I hear this, Mheshimiwa, I also see a hand. Okay, there are a couple of things. One, there could be justification on the cost of production locally being high, so therefore the cost of rice is high. But when the government releases money to support local farmers so that we can buy their rice, how can somebody, a government institution, say that this rice is too expensive, I'm going to buy from Pakistan? I mean, what the hell are you saying?
That's what I wanted to explain to you. They ended up in buying much of the rice from Kano Plains because Kano Plains rice was cheap. And then out of it, some people found a way out of it. They would import rice or bring rice all the way from Taita Taveta in Tanzania, I'm told. I have no confirmation of this, but I'm told. So they take it to their Ahero areas. They sell it as if it's being grown there.
Ahero rice.
And and this is why I'm telling you that much of the money did not find itself into Mwea.
So it went to merchants and corruption.
I would say so. I would say so, without any hesitation on that. So this is why we are saying that the government did its part. The operationalization mechanism is the one that now corrupted the whole thing.
Okay, now your role here as the MP for Mwea, including Shakil Shabir, who's the MP as well, would be to provide the checks and balances and oversight such operationalization.
Yes.
Now, what role have you played, for example, to ensure that the money that was released by the government actually went to the benefit of the farmers?
My brother, if you went to KNTC today and they tell you the number of times I've visited there, you'd know we have really tried. For us to have discovered what was really happening, that information cannot find you on the desk.
True.
You would have to go for it. That means you'd have to go to KNTC. I would have to go to my societies in Mwea, try to look at what is the amount of rice that's being bought by the government, then go to KNTC, try to understand why, and then make an inference.
This is part of your job, isn't it?
So I like it. Yeah. I am not complaining.
Is it then raised on the floor of Parliament, where it's on record that this issue has become an issue that Parliament is then investigating what happened to the 600 million shillings?
And then to stop it from happening again.
If you go to the Ministry of Agriculture now, and I'm telling you things that I do, that's why I didn't have to prepare for you. I have all this information within myself. Go to Ministry of Agriculture right now, and you'll find my question, which was unfortunately closed as we were leaving.
Right.
That is already there. If you also go to the Trade Ministry, you will also find a question that I asked. So, in fact, what you are saying, we have played our role as registrators.
Is there a committee in Parliament that deals with agricultural issues, Mheshimiwa?
Yes.
And what was their stand on this particular issue?
In fact, they are very supportive. If you call the chair, Mr. talk of rice, and he'll tell you that he have an outstanding issue on rice that he is sorting out.
Essentially, nothing has been done. That's what exactly everything you're telling us amounts to. Nothing has been done, and there are big plans that are being put in place.
Not unless you want to conclude. Not unless you want to conclude that, my brother, because if I tell you that we have asked the minister to come to Parliament to explain how the 600 million was spent, is that not a law that we pray as members?
Has he come, and then after these deliberations, has then a next step been taken in terms of what then will be done about the issue?
I've just said that this happened, or rather the discovery was made just before we closed for December holidays. And I personally also had an appointment with the minister.
Right.
We sat with the minister. Yeah. I'm supposed to go back there next week. We sit on the same. That's what we are supposed to do. Okay. Remember, the minister also has to get the right information from his ministry.
That's true.
And this is why I'm saying this is an issue. Nobody can say that we are doing nothing. I personally, having initiated 2 questions in Parliament and also sought a statement. So there are 2 questions and 1 statement in Parliament. Having met the minister himself and with another appointment next week, my brother, my sister, I don't think you can say we are doing nothing on this.
Mheshimiwa, until the lives of the rice farmers in your constituency change,
yes.
What then can we say our efforts have amounted to really?
Our effort, life cannot change instantly, my brother. The government released money. We carried out our investigations. We did the right thing in Parliament. I'm doing the right thing with the minister. You do not expect them to benefit until all these efforts are complete.
Actually, you expect. Actually, we do. That's precisely it. We actually do expect because, I mean, these are issues that probably have existed even prior to your being a member of Parliament for this particular region.
Yes, they did, but every leader has different approaches.
Yes.
As I told you, on being elected in 2017, the first thing I did was to initiate the repealing of Cap 347. That was a beginning. This is a nut that existed since 1958. I wasn't there, but every person has an effort. I'll give you an example. In Moya, for example, we had an MP who did very well, called Alfred Derito. He was able to fight for the release of farmers from NIB during that time when they were also almost doing it as a slavery kind of farming, where you would take every merchandise to NIB and NIB will give you a ration even for your own family. He did his part. I came in 20 years later to now approach it from the legal side.
Yeah.
I am doing mine on the legal side. He did his, I would say, if you may, on the physical side, where they had demonstrations and those kind of things, and it worked for what they wanted. But after achieving that, now we need to anchor these into law. And that is what we are now fighting for. That's why we are caucusing as members of Parliament, so that we can sit with Skinasabil and others and come up with the laws that we know are now wrong-term. Yeah? That way, after we put all that in place, now we can sit and say how much. Remember, like me, when in 2017, I would say a kilo of paddy rice used to cost 40 shillings. Or rather, they were selling at 40 shillings. Today, the minimum you can sell in Mwea is 65. So we can't say we are where we started from the term of this Parliament.
With the same cost
we
of
are
production?
Not yet there. Yeah?
Has the cost of production remained the same or has it reduced?
In fact, what I introduced was a technical team comprising of the Ministry of Agriculture, NIB, and other stakeholders. Every year, every season, we sit to look at the cost of production so as to determine the minimum amount that a kilo should cost.
Right.
That was another major achievement because there was no basis on which you tag your price. You would wake up and say, okay, rice is 40 shillings or 45. But now we know the cost of production. Like, for example, this season, the cost of production was about 45 shillings. Anything selling around there is a loss to the farmer.
A loss to the farmer, indeed.
That's why we came up with a figure.
Mheshimiwa, your colleague Shakil Shabir also has some comments to make on this.
Yes.
Mheshimiwa, let's do this. You and myself, as a direct result of this particular conversation, we find each other in the next day or so. And then we put together our heads to make sure that the warehousing systems bill and the one to do with the commodities exchange bill and one or two other things are actually pushed through. Let that caucus start today.
In fact, I've already
I'll look for you and you look for me. So that
I'll finish the write-up for the caucus.
Yes.
I was going to tell you I've finished the write-up for the caucus. I've been liaising with Honorable Odege from your side. So Honorable Odege should be in the know. And I've been actually telling him to look for these people who are coming from these rice-growing areas because me, I've finished my part.
No, what we will do, what we'll do, Mheshimiwa, let's let you and me meet and anybody else. Let's take that little action, whatever we can do, and with everybody else.
Start from somewhere. Also, the investigation into how
and
then
600 million.
600 million happened, push through this investigation because you see, it's very clear that even by the time the president was issuing this instruction, there were people who had looked at it and there were people who had decided how they were going to eat the money. In the end,
I wouldn't,
in the end,
I sit on the Special Funds Accounts Committee. I sit on the Special Funds Accounts Committee.
I'm not saying that you are part of it. I'm just saying it's...
No. What I'm saying is since I've gone to KMTC and I've found lice, the stores are full. Go there now. You'll find the stores are full.
Yeah.
So I do assume and believe that lice was bought. Because the stores are full. I visited them 3 times.
Yes, but Mheshimiwa, you have also told us that you've also
I've
found
told
out
you the stores.
Anecdotally, that there's a likelihood that not all the money went to the direct Kenyan farmer.
Sure.
And these questions need to be asked and answered. And so that you can make sure that going forward, that you put in the checks and balances. Thank you very much for joining us and for at least sharing all the insights that you have with us this morning.
Yes.
Asante sana.
Thank you very much. I will look for my brother Shabil there.
Yes.
I believe he has my number. As I said, I am complete with my write-up on the caucus purpose and the objectives and why we need it. It's ready to go to the speaker. What I need is the list of members who are willing now to join in, and we move on that.
Very good. And when you need public caucus, Spice FM, the Situation Room is here and it's ready.
Oh, very good. You want to be a member of the same?
Yes, on the public front, when it comes to public awareness and public initiative, we're right here. Dr. Kabinga Wachira.
It's something I believe in.
Yes.
It's something I believe in and something I know will help the farmers quite a lot.
Thank you very much.
I'm glad that you have also brought it up, and I want to really thank you. Probably this is the first initiative I'm getting from a studio where I'm being called without even being informed or notified. But I tell you, this initiative will probably, even the speaker is also listening himself, and that will be very good for us. When we finally take our appeal to him, we now have a reference. We will say how we even met with Shabir while he was in the studio and I was in my office.
Thank you very much. Have a lovely day.
Thank you too.
Okay.
You too, and your colleague there, and my colleague Sheikh Shabil. Also,
Asante. Have a good day. Dr. Kabinga Wachira is the MP for Mwea constituency, talking about the rice issue. So there are very many things that you still can do, and he says, and like you've said, Mheshimiwa Shakil, look for one another, join this caucus, push it forward. Just your closing remark as we come to the end of the show today.
My closing remark is this: you talked about the rot. It's the one thing that I want to plead with everybody. We were born with good and evil within us. It takes you to do one good thing for others to follow on that good thing. So it will gather its pace. It's difficult to preach integrity to a poor person, but civilizations rise and fall on account of the moral values. And moral values of Kenya used to be, I used to go to Dubai. When you went to a shop in Dubai, if you were a Kenyan, they welcomed you, a Kenyan African, yeah? And I'm sorry to say, Undu, if you were a Nigerian, they didn't want to see you. Now you go to the same Dubai, and we Kenyans have lost our standing. We lost our integrity. You go to the UK, Kenyan had integrity. You know, we must start living with that. It's my vision, my plan, and my hope that I can make a small difference among Parliament and among the people that I'm talking to say, take that step. Be bold.
Yeah.
If somebody is doing something wrong, tell him. Don't quarrel with him, but tell him this is not right.
Right.
Because he will remember that and he will tell these children.
Encouraging to have you in the show.
Thank you.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Shakil Shabir. And on that journey of, doing the right thing and encouraging people to do the right thing, you've got friends in us.
Thank you very much.
And we'll have you again in the show. CT, let's close with today's proverb.
If you think, Mheshimiwa, that you are too small to make a difference, you have never spent a night with a mosquito.
You're never too small to make a difference.
No.
Start somewhere.
This is my card.
Very good. Sindano says, I'm listening in and throwing slippers. I've run out of missiles. We get the leaders we deserve. Kenya remains food insecure. Is this a constitutional question? Yet we have food barons servicing food quotas. Very soon, in this country, we'll be importing water.